Good morning, Xbox. Yes, good morning and welcome everybody to the 43rd episode already of Good Morning Xbox. I'm your host, Mr. Boom Boom Kaboom. It's Newf Nukem in the room. And as usual, my amazing panel is here this morning. Minus one, Mr. Axel cannot make it this morning. He's a little under the weather, so to speak, self-inflicted, if you want to, shall we
More like
say,
under the table, but yeah, that's
under the table. But we are here. We are ready to go. And should be another good show. We got some pretty good topics, I guess. And obviously, like I said, a majority of our panel is here minus Axel. So let's introduce the panel if you're not already self-acquainted. Starting with the lovely lady that's off to my right on my screen, left on your screen, whichever it might be. And it is Coolcat Terri.
All right, hello everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm happy to be here again, and yeah, let's have a great.
Let's have a good show indeed. And the man who slid up to the top row this week, yes, Mr. Slick himself, Cerebral Paul's in the building.
That's because I woke up early. That's the only reason. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today and been having a good week, so let's go.
Let's go indeed. All right, to the smooth talking, fast walking scrub nurse is in the house.
What's going on, everybody? Love to see y'all in the chat. Let's get the show started. But before we do, just let me share my screen. We're going to talk about the slap for about 25 minutes before we get into these games. Y'all ready? Here we go.
All right. Sounds like a new mobile video game, the slap. Uh-huh.
There you go.
You got to smack everybody and then run away. See how fast you can do it.
Well, then I'm going to lose that race.
Yes.
But, you know.
I figure every YouTube channel has been talking about it. We might as well do it too. No,
yes.
Just joking. All games.
And let's get down to the final panel member on the podcast whose mama slapped him at birth, Eternal Shaddai.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a great weekend, on gaming. Let's get to it.
Let's get right into it indeed. Speaking of getting into it, let's catch up with the best chat in the business, guys. They're here each and every week supporting the show. Glad to see them here. Honestly, these next few shows for me are going to be special, emotional, very, very special for me. So good to see everybody here, and I'll be taking notes of the people that show up to support. So Prophet in the house this morning, up bright and early, ready to go. Doggy Dog 420, no stranger to the channel and the chat. He is here already this morning. Good to see you, Doggy, back from the dead is in the building. Crazy Greek dude, what's going on, my brother? Good to see you here. We got Metal Gear Squall, Casket Repair, John 907. We have got Power Man 4K. What's happening, Power? The Jenna. Good to see you, Jenna. We got, who else we got going on here this morning? I think Apex is in the house. We got J-Rock in the building. What's going on? And I think we've caught up with everybody. And we have our first super chat, which is no surprise as well, coming in from the always supportive and amazing Doggy Dog. Throws down that $1.99. Happy Sunday, all. GMX and coffee. Let's rock. Yes, let's go indeed. All right. So getting into our first topic of the morning and wasting no time. Yes, E3 has been canceled this year. Not really a huge surprise, I guess, for most. But a lot of us had high hopes that it would be back to some sense of normalcy or back in some sense of the way. I mean, technically we kind of had them, but more in a sort of a digital self-serving, especially now with Jeff Keighley taking up the mantle of doing his Summer Games Fest or whatever the hell he's calling it. And he's probably the guy with the biggest smile in the building right now, because that'll just bring more eyes and ears onto his special programming. Whereas before, most of the big games, the trailers, the excitement was all around E3. Pretty self-explanatory. We've kind of talked about this before, but we're going to explore it again. Now, they did say that there was plans to bring it back for 2023. My question to the panel and to the chat, does anybody really care at this point? Is E3 a fossil? Is it to the point where, it's just not relevant anymore? Especially now because of YouTube channels and social media influencers and so many different ways now that games are covered. And I think the biggest problem's been the fact when you don't have all hands on deck, right? When guys like Sony have been notably absent for the last 3 or 4 years, and they're legitimately one of the biggest reasons really, the E3 is largely dominated by the big three, which being, Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo. And when you don't have the presence of some of the biggest game publishers and console manufacturers out there, it certainly leaves a bit of a wane, so to speak. It's definitely not the same. Not saying they're not good without them. A lot of other publishers step up too, and perhaps even the indies get a lot more notoriety or get more views, and there's more room for other people to take the floor, so to speak, when those guys step out. So let's find out how you feel. In a sense, I've almost kind of talked about how I feel, but I'll come back to my opinion in a moment. I guess we'll start off with the probably the naysayer in the group, as Paul was saying prior to the show starting. Coolcat Terri, I think the last time we spoke on a topic like this, she pretty much didn't really care. So let's see if she's changed her tune, or she's going to be very vocal on E3 can go kick a bucket. Coolcat Terri, what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, like my stance is the same. I still think they can go kick rocks, man. Like, it's just the show hasn't been good in a long time. Even before the pandemic happened, they were already falling behind. Everybody kept dropping out. There was that long stint where EA didn't show up, and then they slowly made their return, and then Sony said, "Screw it." And then and then once Sony dipped out, like the show just didn't have like any really. It just really took a hit. Because a lot of people that really enjoyed E3 wanted to see what Sony had to offer, because that was their, that's their brand or whatever. And it just that they didn't have anything there, so they would have to wait for Sony's, own little play show or whatever. I don't remember what they called it. They had their own side hustle.
State of play, yeah.
State of play. So my view has not changed at all. People have been able to enjoy watching the stuff, over, media, whether you watch it on YouTube or IGN or wherever you want to watch it, and you get your news. The journalists all write about the same story, and it's just a lot of copy repeat, and it's just there's no need for the big spectacle show, because all we care about is what games are coming out and when we're going to play them, and that's it. We don't need a spectacle. We just want to know what can we play. Gamers just want the games. I understand that there are people who like the idea of the big event and the possibility that they could go there and test some stuff out or whatever. I get that, but in the end, all you really care about is what games are coming out, and you don't need to go there to learn that. It's just, and then when you look at it from whether you're like a creator standpoint, E3 had this, to still get like the journalists and the interviews and the content creators to do their thing. They had like their back end stuff where you would get like your digital pass and you go in the back end so you could still do all that. That was a travesty. Like, it was horrible. Nothing worked. You would try to set up appointments to do the interviews, and nothing worked. Like their whole back end was so broken that the public doesn't know. It was like, it's the worst. It was horrible. Like, they should have just pulled the plug. It was such a freaking disaster. And it just further cements that, it's time to just pack it up. We don't need it. The pandemic was kind of like that eye-awakening thing where people start to realize, maybe we don't need this huge spectacle. We can just throw stuff on YouTube. People will watch it. They'll love it. Journalists are going to write about it anyway. And you're good. The companies can save their money. Look at Microsoft. They spent, it was like millions of dollars just on the one show, just so they could, advertise for the freaking Lego DLC for Forza Horizon, and so they could have the McLaren on the stage. It's like, you're blowing all this money for a DLC right now. It's ridiculous. It became like this competition that if they didn't open their wallet and have a huge budget to do this stupid show, that they would have that pressure of we can't go to E3 and be an embarrassment. We have to sell out as much as we can to look good. And it's like, it shouldn't be about your personal image. It should be about the quality of the products you're making. And E3 just became all about image, like who's going to be the best of the show. And that's not what it should be about. And that's what it became. and I'm happy it's gone. Let's focus on what the studios are making. Let them be proud of their accomplishments for what they're working on, and let that be what the showcase, not who has the biggest budget to blow on 10 minutes on a stage.
Right.
It's what I mean. That's what I stand. I know people are going to disagree, but it's not needed.
No, you bring up some great points.
I'm going to get the same outcome whether I watch it on YouTube or if I went there. I'm going to get the same news.
Right.
I'm not going to I'm going to get the same highlights. So I mean, the experience is different, but in the end, that experience isn't going to make or break anything major for me.
Right.
I've gone to conventions before. They're fun, but they're not all that.
Okay. Fair enough. I was going to say that might be one of the strongest reasons why people don't want to see it go, because of the social interaction, getting a chance to meet some of their idols, so to speak, in the game development industry, more behind the scenes and stuff like that, which you don't often get with other aspects. So, but great points. Like I said, some of the stuff, the way you articulate, is definitely not wrong. It is, again, and it's your opinion. We're gonna find out how the rest of the panel feels. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Gonna go with Scrub Nurse on this one. Second up, Scrub. How do you feel about E3? Is it something? None of us here have been to the E3, so you can't say you're gonna miss it from a social interaction per se, but it still kind of sucks in some ways, at least. So how do you feel about it?
Well, I think exactly what Terry was saying as far as the money aspect. For the money aspect that you could be using to develop games, to do other things, it's not needed. But I'm looking more of the aspect of the experience of the how many podcasters and friends, people who are on the same show with each other, who live all around the country, sometimes around the world, that was their meetup to hang out. That was their meetup to, I've done a podcast with this one, or I've talked on Twitter to this one, and now I was face to face. Hey, how you doing? Which you can do in a meetup somewhere else. Hey guys, we're going to meet up such and such, such and such. But that meetup was also surrounded by all these new games you can try, all this stuff you can talk about, all this content that you could put on your channel, blah, 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 or just the experience of you and a bunch of folks just hanging out in the hotel room or your Airbnb and just goofing off for a weekend and talk about games. So I think that is where it's hitting a lot of people, a lot of different content creators, is that just the aspect of meeting up and saying hello and getting the time to just let loose with some people that they've been on, like I said, Twitter, YouTube, podcasts all year. It was like the big, everybody meet up once a year. This is the place. Let's have a good time. With that being gone, I can understand it's basically like a high school reunion with cooler stuff and people you actually want to hang out with. That's kind of what I look at it like. So it will be missed. I always wanted to go to one since forever. And I was always, I have gigs all summer long, or I'm a broke college student, so I don't have the money, or I'm a broke new employee that I don't have the funds. I just have to work. And then, sometimes you do get to a point where I have the money and I'm saving up for the whole year. Boom, I'm ready to go. And now you can't do it. So for them to come back in 2023, I hear them saying they're going to come back in 2023, but they also were kind of hedging that they were coming back 2022. So you just don't know. If they see how well it's going, they might change it up. I know I talked with everybody in the DMs. This is just one big conspiracy. So Jeff Keighley has everything. So he can have the Game Awards and so he can have everything during the Summerfest. That's what I think. It's all a big conspiracy. But not really. This is going to be everything Jeff Keighley back. I don't want Jeff Keighley to have everything, but because I don't like, he doesn't have the money and he doesn't have the extra spectacle to put on like a E3 does. So if you're going to do the meetup, if you're going to do the spectacle, I would rather the the companies do it because they have the more money to spend. But like I said earlier, in a financial reason, it's really not feasible over this time. You get the same reaction and you get more bang for your buck streaming it. I just only wish that they could have the bandwidth to do 4K. And if you're not going to do 4K, at least do the replay in 4K. I've seen PlayStation do a couple of them where it was 1080, and then you go look back for a 4K one, and there's not a 4K because you're really not showing off the game as best as you could. Rest in peace, Mixer. When Xbox did it through Mixer, they always looked fantastic. So Mixer, another reason why we hate Mixer, is gone. So that's what I have on it.
Yes, good old Mixer, man. I almost keep forgetting that even existed.
God, that was the best thing in the world. Just stream straight from your console. Great fidelity, great FPS, great picture, and then it will be missed. And you didn't need the extra equipment like I do now.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how sometimes the better services are not always the one that win or come out on top? You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's always hard
HD
to
DVD. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's always stuff. It's hard to beat stuff that just gets an established foothold. Right? That's the problem. No, and people don't like change. They don't like to switch. So it was, it's too bad. It really is, because I enjoyed Mixer myself a lot as well.
I just find that kind of comical though, because like I've been a content creator like on Twitch for 6 years, so I did all those things that Scrub mentioned on Xbox before Mixer was a thing. Like they already had that. So it's like you didn't need Mixer.
Well, one thing Mixer had a couple of things that Twitch still doesn't. Mixer had FTL, which was their almost zero latency abilities, and they also had the ability to co-stream, which was awesome.
And
with
they
up
didn't
with up to 3 other streamers. Yeah.
That pisses me off more than anything. You have to buy extra equipment just to make your Twitch stream look better. It's ridiculous. But that's on another topic.
Yeah, indeed.
I was never a fan of the co-streaming because you blend different communities. They have different personalities. It just becomes fun.
Yeah, but it was handy if like you're doing Forza and 4 of you are streaming from different points of view in the race or whatever. It was a lot of fun, and people could click on whichever screen they wanted to get a better view of what that driver was seeing. So I mean, it had some very creative uses actually.
I did that with third-party sites that had that before Mixer, and it's like it's still, it wasn't, I don't know. Like I said, I've been doing the streaming for so long that all those new little things that Mixer had, other places already had. So it's no big deal.
Well, I think also the fact that the YouTube streaming was picking up and Facebook was doing stuff, so there was so many competitions, and it was starting to dilute your viewer base. So I'm sure that it had to be a tough decision for them to make, but it is what it is. Anyway, I don't want to take the conversation down another rabbit hole this morning, but yes,
my bad.
Pour one out for Mixer. All right. So here we go. We got 2 differences of opinion and different articulation in here. Let's go with Eternal Shaddai and leave Paul to bring up the rear here. Let's go, Shaddai. How do you feel about E3? You look like you're over there crying some big old tears.
Well, let's put it this way: if I had the money, I will go over there just for the experience. Just like Scrub said, for a person like me, I just want to have the experience, but also for, let's say, small podcasts or anything like that, you will actually get at least, you get lucky to meet one of the creators and probably give you an exclusive, interview that nobody have. So that's the part that it benefits the E3 other than, the big 3. But for me, we want E3 to come. Well, for me, I want E3 to come back because we have been so long inside in our houses due to the pandemic. And the thing is that we don't want to be pretty much our rest of our lives inside our houses. They're gonna come into a time that we're gonna say, when are we gonna get out of the house, or let's forget about the pandemic. We don't want to be all depressed. We want to go out there like it used to be, and that's why I'd rather E3 to come back. Yes, there are other events like Gamescom. I think it was last year or the year before that their number was growing compared to E3, which that was like, wow, okay. I thought E3 was the biggest one, but I guess Gamescom is a little bit bigger than E3.
Yes.
So for them to say they want to come back big, I believe it when I see it. Because like Scrub said, they said they were going to come back this year. They're
Right.
not. Anything changes,
Okay.
probably in the last minute or not. So
Let me ask you this though, then, Shaddai, do you think that part of the reason was the fact that there's still a lot of uncertainty with the pandemic, like, and for a lot of organizers, like, this takes a lot of time, money, commitment, volunteers, you name it. So maybe it was just easier to say pull the plug as opposed to getting right up close to the date, and then all of a sudden, there's an outbreak or this, like, there's too many concessions that would have to be made, or too many modifications. It makes it more trouble than it's worth at the end of the day, because we've seen how the pandemic has changed so many industries right now, right? With the way that they organize things, we saw how concerts have had to adapt, sporting events have had to adapt, and like a lot of times, if you can't have an audience, and that's largely what E3 is based on, is having a live audience and thousands of spectators, and sort of it kind of defeats the point if you can't go full out.
Okay, that shouldn't change anything, because right now is because they're making decisions due to the pandemic and whatever variant is out there. But if they bring it back, you never know what will happen if they bring it back and the numbers are triple than it used to be. So you never know. And for a lot of companies, this is one of the biggest markets, especially a lot of, let's say, overseas or anything like that. They want to gain track to to the United States,
Right.
so that shouldn't stop anybody. That shouldn't stop really, it shouldn't stop anybody. They could go back to normal. They're just trying to be cautious about it for what's happening, but it shouldn't stop anything, as long as they plan it correctly and a lot of publishers come together to be in the biggest show, the biggest event of the summer. They shouldn't stop them. They shouldn't stop them, and that will make a lot of people happy. That will actually, that's one of the things that I have on mind. We want to get out of the house whenever we get the chance and whenever we get the money and all that. So for something like that, at least it's something of fresh air for that.
I got a quick question. I thought they already said they weren't going to do it in public and was just doing.
Yeah, they said that months ago that they were going to go digital. That they were going to go digital.
But
And
they're
now they're
canceling
not.
the digital. So I don't want anybody listening thinking that, oh, they canceled the meetup of E3. They canceled that a long time ago.
Yeah, they canceled that almost 6 months ago, I think. Yeah.
And
I think part of what it is part of what's been alluded to is the different publishers have access to different quality for streaming and stuff. When they did the digital thing, there was such a difference in the quality between, the parts of the show, and they really had no easy way to control all that. So I can see why they probably looked at what was going to happen this year and went, you know what, that's not going to be a good show. That's not going to look good on us to put this thing together and have parts of it look like absolute crap.
After that,
Exactly.
I'm with Paul, because I know, like Terry said, it's declining. There is a lot of things going on about E3 if things wasn't going correctly. But I'm with Paul. I think that's the reason why they cancel it digitally, because they probably want to go square one. Let's see how it goes, and let's go. I think one of the articles said they want to go with they want to start off with a big bang, everything set up, and let's see how it goes. But as of right now, we just want to get out of the house. Let's bring our life back.
Yeah, but us wanting to get out of the house has nothing to do with E3. Seriously, it really shouldn't either.
Right.
Well, the reason
let's do something so people can get out of the house. Given the situation that we're in, it's not necessarily great reasoning.
Mhm.
The reason
Yeah.
why I said that is because I know a lot of there's a lot of friends that I talk to, and sometimes they want to get out of here,
Well,
and get
you
out
know
of the
what?
city.
I want to get out of the house too. But then again, I watched WrestleMania last night. There were 71,000 people packed into
How
AT&T
lucky-
Stadium.
The question is, how
And
lucky are you gonna get
not a
that
mask
ticket?
was seen. Okay, so we'll see what
question is,
happens. We'll see what happens in the greater Dallas area over the next month or so.
yeah, but the question is, how lucky are you gonna get a ticket like that, knowing that it's gonna be expensive like crazy, just for
But
one?
it has nothing to do with it to me. And getting to get out of the house, getting to go to a special event has nothing to do. It's not going to override the safety of me or those around me. I'm sorry. It's just the got to get out of the house to me is a very selfish reason to want to do it, want to have anything to move forward.
Obviously,
Yeah, it's
we've
gonna
definitely
take some
seen that.
I
time.
don't. No, I know it's gonna take some time, but some people they just want to get out. They want to get out more, and I know it's a business aspect because of E3. It's a big stage. Every publisher are there. Everybody's gonna meet, and you will get lucky to meet one of the publishers.
I think they'd have record attendance probably because again, it's the same that we're seeing that right now, and I'm seeing it in my workplace where sports itself and other events are getting record numbers now because people are like they're so fed up with being in and COVID and stuff that people are just at this point up here. I don't know if I could say the same as well. It's probably no. I definitely know it's definitely in the States because I saw in the States last year. Most states were not even really holding much stuff. Like up here in Canada, like we've literally pretty much been in like an actual lockdown for the most part. Like it's been pretty serious up here, but I've seen states take huge liberties south of the border, like where people haven't been masking almost ever since this crap started. Like nobody's really doing anything. It looks like it's like business as usual, like there's been other sporting events, even when hockey up here, all of our hockey stadiums, nobody in them. You looking in the States, people in the stands. Like you've had people in your stands long before we did up here. But people are dying to get out, right? That's the thing there. And they don't at this point now, the attitude is we don't give a shit anymore. Right. So it is what it is, but people
we want to be cautious. Of course, we want to be cautious about it.
But is there any cautiousness now?
Yeah.
There won't be any cautiousness about it.
It's like the stupidity shit with the restaurant, right? You got a mask to go in. They won't let you in a damn place without the mask. But then they'll let you go to the table and sit down with 6 other people and be 3 feet away from the next table with no mask. It's like, so is this all of a sudden germs only travel? What did they have a limitation of 6 inches or something like that? Because
to me that that's explained by controlled mitigation. If you want to get into that, that's just controlling the mitigation as much as they can.
Right.
Controlling. Yeah.
But I will say, because I did forget about this when I was talking. With Microsoft and all the studios and them having ZeniMax, Bethesda, all of that, how would they condense that into like a 1 hour show?
That's true.
Or an hour and a half show. And depending on with E3 and how they had everything set up, unless they just said, all right, Sunday or whatever, Xbox, we're going to give you 2 hours to do blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's going to be hard that's if Xbox wanted to show how much they had, but with all the studios, that was no way they were going to put that in a 1 hour show. Hardly ever if they're going to do it in a 1.5 show. If they want to put out all the games that they want to tease, and plus, the biggest, Bethesda game in the last couple of years coming out at the end of the year. So you definitely was going to spotlight all that stuff. I don't think how they can make it fit.
That's true.
So you almost have to have your own show separated and apart from it and not have to worry about it.
Well, the nice thing about that, like Bethesda, they won't show you anything till they have something to show. Basically, they can, depending on what they have. Like this year, you can expect a big Starfield splash because we know that's coming.
Show that. Right.
But as far as anything else that's being worked on that's maybe 4 or 5 years out, I mean, they'd have to kind of self-edit, maybe do a little splash teaser like they did with Starfield last year, You know,
Right.
so
But
it's
you got to
possible.
have teaser for Fable. You got to have teaser for some of these other games come out. Plus, Xbox always puts a little thing about ID. They always put something about
Right.
the community. They also might
Yeah.
say, "Oh, we have acquired this," and by the time they do all of that, they're going to do a thing about Game Pass. They're going to do a thing about
Yeah.
accessibility. By the time you put all of that together, it's plus not counting trailers on top of that. It's hard to
Right.
fit that in.
That's
Oh
true.
yeah.
in 1.5 hour
But they
show.
just do but they've always kind of split between the shows. You know, here's the big E3 thing, then they'll do something at the Xbox Game Awards, and they'll do,
Right.
plus
Yeah.
they have their own stuff during the summer.
Mm.
So I mean, they know they got to deal with a lot. So they just, I kind of feel bad for some of the companies that already had some of this stuff ready to go, especially some of the smaller ones,
Correct.
because now they're not going to get eyes on their stuff unless they can
Yes, they
squeeze
will.
into,
Summer
within
Game
reason.
Fest.
Well, but see, Summer Game Fest was probably already massively booked, dude.
Mm.
So all of a
Kiwi
sudden
will
these,
find a way. He'll
I'm,
find a way.
dude, I'm just saying, because some of that was already scheduled. So they had already broken out. Here's what we're gonna do at Summer Games Fest. Here's what we're gonna do at E3.
Right.
Mhm.
And so now they have to find a way. And you can say, yeah, they could just stream their own stuff, but especially for some of the smaller studios, that's not going to get as many eyes on there as the big show would have.
Well, I think that's all the more reason if they want to, if it's going to be cross-platform, they're going to say, hey, Xbox, when you put out your show, can we put it on there? Hey, PlayStation, when you put out your show, can we put our game on it? It's going to get out to some way. Folks are going to start making deals and moving stuff around.
Not all of it.
There.
Not some of it's going to get left in the dust.
Not all of it. You're right, not all of it, but that's where the community, gaming community comes in. A lot of stuff. Look at what Terri puts out every Sunday. A lot of stuff doesn't get out, but she puts stuff out where it gets passed around, and just multiply that by the hundreds of thousands of people who talk about games on YouTube or other Twitch and other channels. Some of that stuff will get passed out. They might say, instead of spending the money we were going to put on E3, we're going to send, hey, such and such, here's some money, talk about our game. Such and such, we're going to give you a free copy, talk about our game, and you can spend and spread that money around.
But it's never going to be as big as an event like E3. That's just not going to happen.
Should I? Go ahead.
Go ahead. I mean, the reindeer game where you hit soda machines was on E3, and everybody laughed at it like, what the hell is this doing on stage? So it's not necessarily because it's on E3 it's worth it. Everybody saw
a lot of people played the hell out of that reindeer game. So
but a lot of people versus the majority is a big difference.
Right.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's always going to be a downside, a flop or whatever you want to call it, but still, there's going to be a lot of games out there that may take them a lot longer to get the word out because they don't have the big stage, and they don't have access to the big stage.
Let's bring him back in, Shaddai, here, because we kind of cut him off there. Shaddai, any further thoughts on this?
No, not really. Just it's like you say. Sometimes we want to get out, but from a business aspect, it's just they want to show whatever project they have, and we just pretty much crazy for us to see, what they have cooking. That's pretty much it. But it's just the experience. Just for the experience.
Would you say then, being an Xbox fan, though, it stings more because Xbox at least is one of the very few companies, certainly the big boys, that they've stepped up pretty much every year. Like and now they're one of the people that most companies look for. They've basically almost carried E3 on their back for the last couple of years that it actually existed. By coming out on Sunday, being one of the first to go up on the stage. So is that? Does this sting more because we're Xbox fans?
Not really. The only thing that people is gonna pretty much ask for is what's gonna happen with the Microsoft Activision acquisition. The games are gonna be there, but the thing is that one of the questions is gonna be: are they gonna be exclusive? Are they not gonna be exclusive? But it is what it is for an Xbox fan or anything like that. As long as they show us the first party games, that's what it matters. That's what it matters. And we all know that Microsoft is going to talk about Game Pass. Is it going to be day one or not? So as of right now, for me, I'm saying like for me, I'm not too worried because right now they do have a lot of ammunitions. And like you guys said, to try to crunch everything at once for a limited time for Microsoft is going to be very difficult. It's really going to be very difficult. That's what I think.
Nice. All right, let's finish up with Cerebral Paul, and then I'll give you my 2 cents worth, and then we'll just talk real quick about perhaps our favorite moment from any past E3. We may have talked about this before, but we'll come back to that in a second. Cerebral Paul, the floor is yours if you want to finish up with your thoughts, since it was kind of an interaction and a little bit of everything going on. But how do you feel about it overall?
I think that it needs to come back in some form, preferably physical. I think it's important because a lot of the, like I said, a lot of the smaller podcasters and stuff, even some of the not so small ones, get a chance. They can go from booth to booth and actually talk to the developers. And yes, you can email, and yes, you can do certain things, but there's something special about being able to stand face to face and talk to a developer or talk to a representative of a company. Or at E3, I know for a fact that, it's not uncommon for people to get a chance to sit there and talk to Phil or talk to any of the guys at Microsoft that are there. They're very open to it. I can't think of what's his name, who's been known to buy food for people online, and not just 4 or 5 people. We're talking hundreds of people, to bring them pizza or whatever. So to me, that makes it special. That makes it so that you can actually reach out and to have a discussion with somebody that's in the company, that's in the business, and get a little bit more background and a little more hyped about their product, because you see how hyped they are. So you get hyped and you share that hype. That's different than watching something on YouTube, watching a trailer on YouTube or watching an interview on YouTube. I've been doing over the last few months, I've done a few interviews with developers and other such things for GQ TV. And it is really kind of fun to talk to them. And you can tell the ones that are really into what they're doing and are really excited about their product. And I think if you go strictly digital, that goes away, and you say, well, we don't need the big shows. So does that mean we don't need Summer Games Fest? We don't need PAX East, South, or West? Should all those go digital too? Or just go away? Why are we so fixated on E3 just needs to go away, but these others are great? I don't understand that. Could they do things better? I'm sure they could. I don't know. I haven't been, but and as far as, they said they were going to come back last year. Well, last year, even this year, they really don't know the state we're going to be in next year. So if things are still bad, they may say next year, that we want to go naked HD. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat. And the last thing I want to see in HD is a bunch of naked gamers. I'm sorry, guys, but no. Where was I? But so they may have to make a decision for next year as well. But I think we're kind of coming out of things like Canada has greatly reduced their what it's going to take for me to cross the border in June, which I'm very thankful for. Because it's not going to be, you have to have a test within this amount of time and you have to have a negative and blah, blah. So I'm very glad I don't have to go through all that just to go to a convention. So, I think they should come back. I think just like with the games, they have another year to get this right and get this worked out. Let's hope they can do it, because also remember, because I've helped do big conventions before, and it's not something that you end one and you take a month off and you start over. No, it's a continual rolling process. Yeah. So some of these things are actually planned 2 or 3 years out as far as what's going to happen, and all of that's kind of gone out the window. So it's going to be interesting to see, because I can guarantee they're already are talking to people. Okay, we're going to come back this date next year, because they have to lock down the building and all the resources and stuff already. So yeah, this is not a small thing, and trust me, it hurts them as much as it hurts us that they've had to cancel. So yeah, I hope it comes back. I think there is a place for it. I think, all the big guys that don't show up, I like the fact that it gets, they each have their own presentation. I wish they would all show up because it might get me interested in something I would normally see, because I don't necessarily always watch, let's say, a state of play, because it may be a game or something that doesn't interest me because I don't currently have a PlayStation. But if I was in a situation like that where I'm in a room and they're just showing a little bit of everything, I might see and go, you know what, that's really cool. I'm going to look into that. Or maybe I'll pick up a PlayStation. I don't necessarily like having to go to different websites to see different things for specific things. I like to have that group aspect as a gamer, not as an Xbox gamer or a Sony gamer or a Nintendo gamer or whatever, but as a gamer to get together. I just think there's a place for it, and I think it needs to come back.
Nice. Well said, Paul. Dark Zone in the chat. What's going on, Dark Zone? Good to see you here. Portal Player, what's happening? Crazy Louie is here. What's going on, Crazy Louie? Good to see you. Jason Max, welcome to the show. Fastbacker, NLG Brothers in the house. What's going on, brother? Good to see you here as well. Tyrone Israel, good to see you here too. Man, some great people up in the chat early this morning. Our good friend R Double is in the chat. Mr. R Rob, what's happening, brother? Good to see you. Droid Who is here as well. Yes, hopefully I got caught up to everybody here. Metal Gear Squall, good to see everybody. Great chat this morning. Doggy Dog is always hanging out. Good to see you guys as well. He says E3 has been shit for the last few years. I disagree. I think E3 hasn't been shit. I think E3 has certainly, like I said, the luster, the shine isn't quite there when some of the big boys don't show up to play ball, right? Which is obviously like Sony. Nintendo is sort of there sometimes, but like their presence hasn't certainly been prominent like in years past, certainly since Reggie Fils-Aimé kind of stepped down and things like that. They've seemed like they've been quiet and they've been content on doing their whole their little, whatever you call them, the tree houses or whatever the frig they're called these days.
The Nintendo Direct.
Nintendo Directs, yes, the Directs. So Direct, like that's the thing. I think they're sort of I guess that's part of it too, is that all the companies now, because they're trying to do so much with the social media side of things, with between their social media accounts and their Facebooks and their YouTubes and stuff like that now, is that the message kind of gets diluted, because back in the day, E3 was really the Christmas of gaming. Nobody really showed their cards a whole lot other than that several different shows. E3, Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, maybe a little bit at the CES every once in a while. But you generally had 3 or 4 game shows a year, and certain different companies would pick one or the other to kind of really go all out. Sometimes the Gamescom was a little easier because it comes later in the fall, and it's right on the coattails of Christmas, or the precursor, and the Christmas obviously is the big selling season, so a lot of people want to get their games ready. But Paul's definitely right. First of all, the economics, right? It's the economics. It brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars as tourism. People come from all over to be here to see this stuff. And there's always something special, because every E3, there's always certain things that we see nowhere else, that they unveil it. Like Paul said, they don't plan these things overnight. They don't slap them together like in 2 or 3 days and then just throw they some of these times they start this stuff 2 or 3 years in advance, almost in like early alpha phases of games and stuff, and they have to do the sizzle reel, right? So they just have to take enough to get people excited, and then hopefully they got some targets in place. But that was part of the problem, I think, in recent years too, is that you got companies who are getting a little overexcited, showing us stuff that's so far out that a lot of it just gets lost. It's great, like for the time being, but then all of a sudden it almost disappears for several years, and then you go, oh yeah, wasn't that game showed off 4 or 5 years ago, and now it finally comes back. So, but that's on them. That's about how they want to. That's on them and their planning and how forward thinking they want to be with some of that stuff. Xbox now has so many studios. I think you're right. I think it was you that brought it up, Scrub, that it's going to be tough for them to have a relatively short show per se. So I think they have to be very selective about what they show, even more so in the future, if and when Activision comes into the fold, which is the way things are going right now. It's just like, it seems like the world is against Microsoft buying Activision. It seems like everybody has an issue with this. Whereas I think any other company buying this damn company wouldn't even be an issue. I think it's just because it's Microsoft associated, but a topic for another day. But overall, I will certainly miss it. I want it to go to a show. I know it's on my list of bucket list items or dream items that I really want to do one of these days so I can meet some amazing people. I want to go for that, let alone anything else, is just to meet so many like-minded gamers, people I've admired, people I've talked to, people like yourselves who have been on my panel with me, and I consider more than just panel members, but friends. The social aspect, right? That's the other thing, is the social aspect, the mingling, how many connections sometimes are made and business opportunities arise through E3. Maybe a lot of these companies didn't even know some of these studios existed. You see this with regular trade shows. It's like all of a sudden, there might be 100 indie developers on the floor that finally get to meet, say, like, Sarah Bond, or they get to meet whoever, and then they start talking, and maybe that's how some of these games come to fruition or come to life, is through those connections that perhaps they wouldn't have had by just throwing up a YouTube video and hoping for the best. Personalization, I guess you could say. Yeah, they're expensive, absolutely. Are they necessary? Maybe they're not as much, I think, as perhaps they would have used to be, and it's largely because the industry as a whole has changed a lot. I mean, games in the last 10 years have changed exponentially. Yes, again, the COVID and the pandemic certainly put a light on it. And I think, as Terry said, that they're not as relevant as they used to be, because again, other people have already started finding avenues to get their games out or to advertise their games. I think the advantage of most devs not having to be at E3 is it takes the pressure off. E3 is a pressure cooker for game designers. We've seen that in the past. We've seen how the live demos, which are awesome, and they're very spontaneous, how much stuff can go wrong, how much stress goes on behind the scenes. And again, showing off an early build of any game is always sketchy, because the judgmental state of the media, and mostly influencers like ourselves, the YouTubers who build channels, it's like, when these games come out, they look great. People either praise the hell of them. When they come out and you're kind of like, wow, that looked like absolute garbage. So it can go one way or the other. So you're going to be overexcited, or you're going to be like, man, that was terrible. And then those people got to go back to the drawing board. And sometimes you're like, man, do we have to delay this game now? Or maybe we should cancel it. I'm sure there have been projects like that where they've gone back and questioned whether this game is even going to survive moving forward. So I think there's a lot of pros, way more pros than the cons, but they need to come back. They need to come back strong. And I think next year, to come back and to do it properly, is they do need to make sure, like, they should be reaching out to everybody right now and enticing them to come back to the show. They want everybody on the floor, because I think when everybody is there and representing, and then that means Sony, the show's not the same without you. And and I also think part of it too is that from some of the developers, or some of the publishers at least, I think, honestly, partly on Microsoft's fault, because Microsoft has come out heavy hitting the last couple of years. Okay, so Paul's laughing, but here's my point. Microsoft has been playing ball. Microsoft's the guy showing up. Microsoft has had, you can say what you like about a lot of things, but they've literally almost carried the last few E3s on their back. Now, you can say that's because the competition didn't show up, but why do I think the competition doesn't show up? Because they knew Microsoft was going to bring it, and they had nothing to really show. And they don't want to look embarrassed in front of the entire effing world, is what I think is happening. They're like, man, Microsoft they got this many games, and they have nothing. That, again, and that's where the danger comes. And Sony did this to themselves, because Sony spent how many years showing off games that were 5 years out, right? Oh, they got this big sizzle reel of all these amazing games. And sure, the games come out and they're phenomenal. But that's the thing. When you stack up on your whole show is built on promises for the future, and you have nothing that's coming out in the present, you have a problem on your hands. Because what you do is you build all the hype for one show, and it disappears. And you can only show the same game so many times before people go, why are you guys showing this off for your 33? Right? When we see this for like 3 years now, like, stop teasing us and bring the games out. Microsoft has kind of been navigating that board right now, and that's where the stickiness comes in, because Phil's obviously said we don't want to show games too far out, but at the same time, you don't want to also be like, keeping you obviously need to lay down the roadmap, and that's where it gets tricky, right? Is that fine line. So, like I said, I think there's pros and cons. I definitely think that's part of the reason some people don't show up, because they already know what they got to show. Like I said, they plan this stuff a year in advance, and if they're going, oh yeah, we literally got like 3 legitimate games, and the rest are so far out, nobody's going to be able to put together anything in time. So they kind of go, maybe we should just cancel. But it is a lot of money too. Yes, it's a lot of money, and again, maybe that's part because, again, they know that they can rely on YouTube, or they can rely on the YouTube channels, the 5 million podcasts out there now that'll talk about their games for them and help promote. It's especially for the indie guys, they might be a little bit more like that, and I could totally understand them, because they don't have the finances. They can't afford to send like lots of teams out to these shows and build some stuff. For them, it's more financially beneficial just to do it the way, like I said, get on YouTube, create a sizzle trailer, toss it out to some people, get them talking. Phil's a liar, Constitutional Games are far away. Well, I think Sony did that for years too, didn't they? Showing off crap that was years and years out. Trust me, the games will come eventually. Microsoft's got too many in the pipeline to be sitting there, but that's a story for another day. But anyway, I'm just going to end off and just say I miss the E3s. I hope they come back. But I said, if they can't be all they can be, there is also the point of what's the point in doing them? Like, you got to get everybody on board. It can't be just one show on a Sunday and a Monday, and the rest of the week you're kind of going, ugh, But to us, it's like Christmas. It gives us lots to talk about. It gives us lots to get excited about. And that's half the industry, man, is building excitement. And when you can do it all in one place and really get the world buzzing, especially when it's a mixture of tech and it's a mixture of, because you got to admit, we all love those console reveal E3s. Those are the best ones. When shit gets unveiled up on the big stage, you're like, wow, new hardware. Woo. We get super excited. Don't lie.
It's the same thing with the acquisitions. It's the same thing.
Exactly. The shows change a bit. Go ahead.
I will say there's one positive to E3 being canceled outright. All the speculation talk that always happens around this time of year leading up to E3,
right.
What Sony's going to buy, what Sony's going to do, or what Xbox is going to buy, or what. It's nice to see that quiet down for a little while,
Yeah, absolutely. So
wait till they announce everybody announces their own show. It'll come back.
Yeah.
But those notifications be piling up from the speculations.
Yeah. Well, that could be another conversation. So if the Activision, for example, that acquisition goes through, you've already taken Bethesda sort of off the table essentially for the third parties, because they're, like I said, they're all going to be highlighted under Microsoft's umbrella. That might become part of the conversation. If you get Activision, you get all their major games, and they're all sort of under sort of the Xbox banner per speak. Now, I don't know how they want to portray them, but people might say, is it worth anything for us to go up? Because now Microsoft's got so many of the big umbrella games. They got so many of the most recognizable publishers and developers. Do you want to go up against that?
That's what I said. That's one of the things that a lot of people is going to talk once they go to E3 a lot about the acquisitions and all that. So he's going to take a lot of the buzz for that.
But even then, a lot of it could be, it could be more like you said, like a trade show, because the booths are still there, and that's where they do a lot of the back talk. Well, about it. A lot of conversations happen at the booth, not on the stage. In fact, most of the,
Yeah. This comment on the screen is probably one of the funniest ones.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the one that always made me sit back and go, "Are we that desperate for?" For an article that we're literally comparing somebody's boot size to the success of the show, right? Your floor space is indicative of the quality of your product. Well, that couldn't be further from the GD truth, okay? And that was, people doing freaking shows on that crap. Oh, look, Microsoft's got smaller shows. These shows gonna suck, man. You only need one garage to show off a Bugatti, baby. You know what I mean? Yeah, there you go. So, always some of those stuff that comes out to the absolute YouTube BS and stuff. That goes out with that in itself is almost worth missing, because you get the laughs too. All of the idiots become exposed at E3. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, because especially with some of that has to do with the prices they were charging for booth space. I mean, come on, it wasn't like $20 a day. It's like, you want floor space. Yeah, that's going to cost you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've seen regular trade shows too where they got these
Yeah.
big floor spaces, but half of the space that they booked is almost for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't use
Just
it
to take up
effectively.
space. Yeah, just to take up space. Yeah.
This big old booth, and you're like, okay, so what's the big deal?
Yeah, big old booth, one guy in a bookshelf. It's like, really?
Pretty much.
It just pretty much attention. That's all.
Yeah.
Just so they get the big banners, and people walk by thinking, "What's up over here?" And you're like, "Yeah, I booked an extra 3 feet because I'm going to fart." Okay. Something along that lines. What about let's just talk about, obviously, I think it's unanimous. I think the majority of us, except for Terry, say yes, we want it to exist. But what about your favorite, perhaps more? I think we may have talked about this before, but what moment sticks out to you? Everybody has a favorite, regardless of what you think about the show, like something that you remember that's still in your mind that you go, wow, that was kind of cool, or I didn't expect that. Terry, let's start with you. Do you have anything that jumps out at you, like a moment that you really remember? Maybe an unveiling or a console unveil or a game that stood out to you that you're like, my God, can't wait for that.
Kind of two. One I've already talked about on the show, and it was when they got Phil Spencer and Reggie and
oh yes,
Sean Layden.
They all came out together, and it just blew everybody's mind. They're like, what? They came out together? Like the console war people, like they couldn't process the fact that they were standing together. It was overwhelming to them. I that's definitely one of the most memorable moments to me is that because it was just awesome to show that because they've even talked all the time about how they have a good work relationship with each other, because they do. I mean, Microsoft and Sony as companies have always done business together. So they have a good work relationship. So it's just fanboys who seem to think that they're, at war with one another, and they want to, take constant jabs at each other, and they're really pretty civil, But
Yeah.
So it was just a really great thing to see that, and to I just always will remember that. And then for a game, it still hasn't happened yet, so it's coming a disappointment. But at the time, back in like 2016 or 17, I think it was, because the game was supposed to come out in 2018 and never did. Was when they announced Skull and Bones.
Yes.
When Ubisoft announced Skull and Bones, because it was funny because we saw Xbox Sea of Thieves, and then we saw Skull and Bones, and I was like, the hell was Sea of Thieves? Skull and Bones looks like 100 times better, and I kept shouting at the TV, take my money, Ubisoft, I want it now.
You know what? They thought that it was a DLC from Black Flag. They thought it was a DLC from Black Flag.
It just that initial reveal at E3 for that particular game looked amazing, and I got so excited. And then now it's like the excitement's gone now, because it's been years since it was supposed to release, and we're still waiting. So, which just goes back to the fact of don't freaking announce games that aren't going to be out either this year or the following year, because then this happens. They announced the game at least 3 years before it was supposed to come out, and now it's over 3 years after it was supposed to come out, and we're still waiting on it. So don't get us hyped for shit, because anything can happen. Only announce stuff that full on, that you're well into development, and for sure that this is a project that you're going to see to the end. Because they can easily start up a project, get hyped, and then there could be a decision that decides, we're going to scrap it. But you've already gotten everybody else on the all hyped up for it. So it's just I don't like them when they do that. But the Skull and Bones, definitely biggest game for me that I've seen for a reveal, and then having the 3 CEOs come out together, was really awesome.
Great points. It's funny too, because sometimes within that, the games are literally intended to come out, say, within a 2 or 3 year window of being shown, and then something happens along the development cycle where they just scrap the game engine, or they basically almost start from scratch. In some cases, we've seen nearly complete projects be like axed after E3s, as I kind of mentioned earlier. Like some projects literally almost ready to go, and then they pulled the plug for whatever reason. Maybe it's from like a feedback that they got, or realizing they're not ready, or who the hell knows. But
Like
man,
Beyond Good and Evil,
gotta suck.
MIA.
Yeah, gotta suck. Let's go in order. Let's go with Cerebral Paul. Paul, how about you, man? Anything stick out to you from E3?
Me, it's usually the console reveals are a big deal, and I miss the earlier days of that when there wasn't all the online leakage stuff and you didn't know it was coming. I like the surprises, the stuff that not everybody knows about. Then all of a sudden there it is, and you're like, holy crap, that's what gets me, because nowadays we're spoiled by the fact that most of the stuff that's going to happen is leaked online at some point before the show. And I kind of miss the actual surprise and the ooh ah moments of, and I've still seen some of that over this last year. With I can't like Star Wars Eclipse the trailer was shown this last year, and the first time I saw that was the first time I heard of the game, and my jaw dropped. And even before, when they were just showing the drummers and kind of showing the layout, I went, "That's a Star Wars game," before they even really said what it was. And I was hyped right there. So that's what I miss. I miss the surprises. I like it when I get shocked and surprised at a show like that, because that's what gets me hyped and excited. I don't necessarily, they're going to talk about Fable. Even, Starfield, I want to see more in Starfield, but I'm not going to be, blown away by it, because I'm already looking forward to it.
Right.
Show me something that I don't know about that's going to make me go, wow, that's cool. Then that's what I want. And those are the moments that get me,
Nice. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there on that one for sure. We got a super chat. We got a super chat coming in. Anybody care to read this one out? It comes in from Percolator 9000, who draws $5. Who wants to read this one?
Okay, let me find it. There it is. Boom, boom, kaboom. I am here. Good morning, panel. Happy Sunday. Let's go. Perk in the house. Party can begin.
Good to see you, Percolator. Welcome. Good morning, and thanks for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it, my brother.
Apparently, Perk has drunk enough coffee for all of us.
Yes.
So
the Percolator is going indeed. Yes. Sir X-Man has joined us in the chat. What's going on, brother? Sir X-Man, J-Rock hanging out. Jasmine Maldonado, thanks for asking how I'm doing, Jasmine. I am feeling great, to be honest with you, and good to see you in the chat. Yes, it's everybody's still coming to, indeed. The scrub nurse Newf, stay home. Whatever that is. Okay. Let's sit down to Scrub Nurse. How about you, Scrub? Any moment stand out to you, or moments in general, things you look forward to?
Well, I definitely have one moment, but it's gonna piggyback off of another one, and we all remember 2013 and TV. Use your Xbox as a remote control to watch TV,
to watch movies, my Monday.
to TV, and then more TV. And with your Xbox, you can watch TV apps on your console for TV. So, and then we also saw how with the DRM and how we share games, and we know from years on in. I mean, also coming out with the One and X, and not having as many games as you wanted to in the beginning. So it was just from 2013 on, we were just trugging along, and it's just like, God, what is going on? And then, Phil Spencer takes over, and we're just at a standstill. When is Xbox going to be able to show off? Now, I'm saying Xbox because it's Xbox centric show. There's plenty of games and game reveals from PlayStation, EA, from Nintendo that were jaw dropping. But I'm getting to a point here, so just bear with me. So then we get to 2017, and then Connect was just too far ahead. Crazily, Connect was good, but it was just too far ahead, and people complained about it too much. It's called Alexa now. But then we get to 2017, and then Xbox buys 2 studios, and we're like, what is going on? Because Xbox didn't have enough money to buy studios to put money into their own games, their own, top tier Halo gears. They didn't even have money for that. And now we get 2 studios. And then we come to 2018. And 2018 was my E3 for the future and see what is going on. Everybody, you saw the games that were announced, like some of them didn't work. So, Fallout 76, The Division 2, but we saw Metro Exodus, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. You saw so many trailers during the thing, but then at the very end, they said, Matt Booty comes out there and says, "Hey, we're going to have our own studio, quadruple A, whatever that means. We're still trying to figure out what that means." So we got the initiative. We bought Playground Games, and we're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Playground Games. Then we also got Undead Labs. And you're like, all right, oh wow. Okay, Compulsion Games too. And then, we picked up Ninja Theory. And I just remember at the time, everybody's like, what? Wait, what? Everybody's getting on Twitter and you just, the year before you got 2 studios, it gave you 5, and now you just doubled it to 10 just that quick.
Great moment.
And then that was the sign to me that Xbox is back, back in those
Right.
Xbox and 360 era where they're, getting these third party games. You're getting stuff. Xbox just spending money to get in the marketing rights for Call of Duty, all this stuff to make sure that they have games for their system. And just to see all of that being bought and then jumped in and Game Pass is coming out, Game Pass Ultimate and all these things, just to see that we are putting money because we believe that this ongoing Microsoft ongoing believes that gaming is a staple and gaming is something that we're going to invest in now when right before that wasn't. So when you look at 2018, big AAA title sometimes takes 3, maybe 4 to 5 years. Counting it, the pandemic as well. So that's going to mess up some stuff. Around this time, 2023, 2024, 2025, but mainly I'm looking at 2023. This is when a lot of these games are coming to fruition. This is some of the stuff that I'm ready to look forward to this summer and all through the end of this year and next year of what are these big development studios are coming out with, because ever since 2018, we've just been stacking on top of that. So to see them put that money in, to see them put out Game Pass, to see them come out and all the stuff, the rumblings they had with the new console, and now it is in front of us. It's showing that Microsoft is putting the full backing behind Xbox, and then there's a chance for a brighter future after the horrendous 2013 and thing that came out in the lull that we had. So that was one of the biggest E3s for me, just to say this is what the future is, and Xbox, basically kicking everybody in the mouth on that E3, like, look at us, we're back.
Great quote from Sir X, man, and nothing could be truer. And I try to tell my employer that time, man, you got to spend money to make money. That's a true fact of life. Damn straight definitely. On that. I always say, if you're not willing to invest and you're not willing to, put your 100% into whatever you basically decide you're going to do, then the failure is on you regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like, even some of the sports athletes will tell you, if you don't try, if you don't put everything into it, like I said, you're only got yourself to blame for lasting success when it doesn't happen. Right now, if you try and you fail, at least you can say you tried. But if you didn't try at all, then there's nothing you can blame it yourself. Titan Drago is in the chat. He says, about to leave our vacation, park in the car now. See you guys on the road if you're still on. Well, Titan, have a great vacation. Well deserved, my brother. Yes, he will not be joining me this Tuesday on Gaming After Dark because, again, he will be away. So just getting that out there. But good to see you in the chat. Let's bring up, last but not least, Eternal Shaddai. Let's get him in here with his take on E3 moment. Go ahead, Shaddai. Subblock 22, you have the house.
My biggest E3 will be the transition from Don Matrick to Phil Spencer, and when he started mentioning about Project Scarlet, which it was the Xbox One X, that lets you know the jump, the change that Microsoft is doing now, after the colossal, which is similar to what Scrubner said, after the colossal reveal of the Xbox One. And then he announced also the Xbox S. And once that happened, that's when Phil Spencer started mentioning things that actually customers, gamers, wanted it, the backwards compatibility. He started just going like, we have games for this, we have games for that. Some of them, they're not there, of course, because he was very honest that they don't have no first party games, but that they have something cooking until they start mentioning studio acquisition left and right. And the one that actually stood out for me was Ninja Theory. That's the first one that actually surprised me, because that studio made a lot of games for PlayStation for a while. And for me to actually see that acquired by Microsoft, I was really in shock. I was really in shock. The rest of them were okay. The Playground Studios, we already knew, because you know how internet is. They're trying to spoil a lot of things. But the biggest one for me was Ninja Theory, until later on they start mentioning, the Obsidian. Now that's when it's getting serious. Other than that, not as much. That's the only one that actually stood out for me. But other than that, I just kind of more of a wait and see what's gonna happen, because I personally knew that Microsoft needed a lot of things to actually make a splash, because for years they have been pretty much, except the 360 squash. But once I started seeing what they're doing, even on the smaller events that Xbox created, when they started saying, well, we acquired Obsidian, we acquired In Exile, we acquired this one, and now that was the part that I started turning my, like, looking around like, okay, now Microsoft is actually being serious about this. Now, yes, we're not gonna get the games, this year or anything else like that, but now it squashed a lot of the criticism that, like everybody likes to say, well, they only have Halo, Gears, and Forza. Now that got squashed. So that's the only one that actually stood out for me when they acquire studios, just because they're being serious about. And also Phil actually listening to the gamers, surely he started listening to everybody, and look how look at it now. Look at the present right now, after all that hassle, criticism, you name it. Now the tables have turned. Now it just show, like everybody says, just right now shows the game. A lot of them, criticizing there's no gameplay, but it's changing. Now the table have turned. It feels like a 360 era, and that's a good sign. That's a really, really good sign.
Absolutely. Great stuff. All right, I'm just going to end off real quick and just say, look, there's been so many moments over the course of history. I got to go with the one with Scrub. Unfortunately, it was a bad memory, but a memory left on the 2013 launch. And I'll tell you why. Because after having an Xbox, having a 360, and seeing all the highs, then we had that immediate low. For the first time in many, many years, I was not considering even buying the Xbox One. I've never, ever been like, man, this is one Xbox I might even pass, but that was the one that started to make me rethink about joining the Xbox life cycle. I did like the Kinect. I had no issue with the Kinect. I thought the Kinect never lived up to its full potential. There you go. Day one, Day One. Yes. What was the code name for that at the time? Xbox,
Scarlet.
Xbox One was free, right? Scarlet, and then it was Project Scorpio. But yes, they did redeem themselves a little bit with Project Scorpio. The Xbox One X, when that was sort of surprise launched on us all and came out, and was like, wow, that's a sexy looking console with some power to boost. There's another Xbox platform I think that never did see its full potential. I don't think anybody ever really fully tapped that Xbox One X. The generation was almost kind of over for that lineup, I think, before it did. I mean, we did see lots of potential. We saw lots of things that were, but there's so many moments from E3. I could sit here all day and talk about them. From celebrity appearances to this, that, and something else. I remember lots of different moments from E3. I remember the huge reaction when Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, and then it kind of disappeared for several years, and then finally came out. Like, I know that's a Sony side of things, but I'm just talking about certain things that just really stood out. But I always like the hardware stuff, and the reason I like the hardware because when the hardware comes, the games are great. I mean, obviously it is about the games, but when you get the hardware followed by the games, the thought always goes to, wow, how are things going to change? How is the gaming going to look and perform now? So it makes you even more excited because you want to see that new tech. Like we all remember every time a new hardware comes, especially remember the jump like from 360 from Xbox One and so on for, that's when the graphics were where there was a really noticeable difference. I mean, we've gone from talking about actual graphics to talking literally now about frame rates and resolution, which is not the same thing. Right. So that's the difference. That's where the tech is starting to plateauing. Yeah, we're getting very powerful boxes, but the differences to the average person are not noticeable, not like those gaps that we had in the past. But obviously there wasn't a lot of social media around, there wasn't a lot of YouTube channels around, a lot of stuff. Can you imagine the magnification those older consoles would have had if YouTube was massively successful or big back in those days? Wow. But now, we got people now that sit here and spend all week arguing whether God of War looks better than Rise, Son of Rome, or this, that, and something else. And they're all fantastic games. I mean, literally now it's almost hard to find a game that looks like absolute ass. I mean, even the indie developers with their limited resources and money are making stuff that that puts you on your butt. You're like, wow, look at what people are doing, right? But to me, but that's just it. Now it's to me, it's the hardware avails are always my favorite, right? And of course, anything that's Gears related. Gears of War 4 was a really cool unveiling for me because that was the last one that Rod was a big part of unveiling. And of course, you saw how much, Microsoft has spent a lot on their sets the last couple of years. They had a big, this big thing for Gears 4. They remember with Forza, they had like I said, a gigantic Lego car. Yes, you could definitely say money better spent elsewhere, but those are the kind of things though that get your attention. That's to get you talking, the things that you remember for years. So most people don't remember half the games we've seen, but you'll remember that shit. That's what I'm saying, right? And sometimes it's about perceptions, about who wants to go big or go home. And, if you throw down the money, sometimes, it's always a good thing. It takes money to make money, as Sir Xman said, and Microsoft definitely likes to speak with the bank account whenever possible. And sometimes great games come along with the ride. So, but that's about it. Unless anybody has any further thoughts you didn't articulate. Now the floor is yours before we get to Coolcat Terri.
I wanted to kind of piggyback off of some comments that both you, Newf, and Paul made, but everybody had a flow, so I just waited.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
But there was the comment made earlier. I can't remember who it was anymore. Might have been Portal Player about how E3 has been crap for the last few years, and I actually want to agree with that because
he's a Sony guy, has been crap.
I mean, no, but it hasn't even anything to do with Sony. It's literally. For me, it has something to do because your take is because they don't have like the polish of having Sony and whatever. That's true, but for me, the big reason why it's been crap for years is because they've been watering the show down with tons and tons of mobile game advertisements. They've been showing off nothing but DLC content. Fortnite, Apex, all of them will spend a huge amounts of time showing off content that's already been released. Like, why are you showing us stuff people already been playing? Like, that's just a waste of time. Right. They've already been playing it. Anybody who cares about that's been playing it. So why are you telling about that on the biggest stage there is? That's all news. And it just that ruins the show. People want to see what's new, not what they already have.
Yeah.
So
that sounds like EA.
not only that, but sometimes Microsoft does that too.
EA is a big one for doing it, but I mean, like, Epic does it a lot with Fortnite. They show a lot of old crap. Player Unknown does it. It's like a lot of the companies just show a lot of the same stuff that they've already released. And it's like there's no reason.
It's old school advertising.
And
They
it's
do it
and it's and in the case of Fortnite and Player Unknown, that's all they have. You know,
Well, I
so-
mean, a truck will get announced in the beginning of the year. They're
Yeah.
going to push that truck all the way with commercials to the end of the year, even when the new one is about to come out, just so they can try to get those last bit of sales. And that's what's happening.
Shake your moneymaker, and those games bring in the bucks, unfortunately. But yeah, I totally agree with
Yeah.
you there.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that that just ruins the experience of watching the show. It's like, well, I don't want to see hundreds of mobile game advertisements during the show. Like that no, I don't. You don't want.
But don't forget, there's 11-year-old Timmy that's sitting there. Yay! I get some more
You're
DLC.
you shouldn't even have a phone.
well,
man.
and there are thousands upon thousands of mobile gamers as well. So even though it doesn't interest me,
Right.
a lot of people do want to see that stuff. You know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of
They do
mobile
it to
gamers.
pump the
I
numbers.
do agree, but they're not showing like the big mobile games that those gamers are going to be hyped for. They're showing freaking shovelware that no one gives a crap about.
Yeah, they should leave that for a little separate show at the end of the damn week and just do like a sizzle reel for those guys.
I mean, the only mobile game that they've shown that has been really good was the JRPG one that also was ported to PlayStation.
Yeah.
Everybody was freaking playing that one. At least they had a quality mobile game to show, but that's usually what we don't get.
You talking about Genshin Impact?
Yeah, Genshin Impact. You know, so like you don't usually get Genshin Impact quality mobile game advertising. You know what I mean? So no, I have to disagree. They're not showing you the quality stuff that the mobile gamers can get.
And the one mobile game I had at least a little bit interested in the last 5 years was Gears Pop, and that's dead already.
Yeah, it came and went.
So, Terry, we're an hour and a half in. I called it before the show.
We still got 10 minutes.
That's Cerebral Paul. We're going to nickname you Father Time because you seem to know exactly what time people need to hear.
We still got 10 minutes. But and then the other thing I want to piggyback off was a comment that that Paul had made when it came to like interviews and stuff, and I get his side on that. But for me, for my personal side, because I myself have done interviews with developers in person at conventions, and I've done them, over Discord or Hangouts or whatever they want to use for a medium to have the stuff. And when you're at the convention, it's definitely a different feeling. It feels a lot more special, but the quality of the interview is crap.
Right.
Because you're put on a huge time crunch because they have to try to fit in as many people as possible. They have to, basically regurgitate the same stuff to hundreds of people in the day. So you're not getting a very organic experience. You're getting, okay, these are the headlines that we have to get out to everybody. So you're just going to get this thing that's been, we've been already, putting to death with everybody else who's come along before you. So it's not going to be that good versus when you can actually set the time aside and talk to them and actually put like an hour or so to talking to them. You can get a lot more information. It's a lot more relaxed. They're able to share all the things they want to share that they don't have time to share at the convention because they only get maybe 10 minutes with you before you get shoved away because they have to fit everybody in. So no, the convention ruins the interviews. All right, unless you're like a big journalist like IGN or someone who can put in to where their people get more time, you're not going to get a quality interview. You're not.
But I think that can work hand in hand because the face-to-face introduction and small interview can get you into that more personal interview later. I
don't know. Literally, the best interviews I had were with developers I've never met in person, and I didn't need to meet them in person to get a foot in the door.
But your experience is not necessarily indicative of everybody's. Okay.
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying my experience has shown me that being able to reach out to these people and talking to them outside the convention has been 100 times better than trying to fit in with hundreds of other people who want that are fighting for their attention.
Yeah. Well, one of my pet peeves is showing off a great game but getting the wrong people from the company to talk about the game. That's a pet peeve for me. It's like, you know what? Everybody in every company always has somebody that it has charisma, has some flair, and can articulate. But then you get like this boring guy who might be the best program developer in the world, but he's like, yeah, but my games got this and that and something else, and you're just like, oh my god, can you guys actually get
Oh yeah,
something?
we saw a lot of that
Huh?
last year. We saw a lot of that last
Can we
year.
get somebody that at least like sound if you're
Or Randy
this game is just,
Pitchford.
get someone who sounds at least freaking excited about the product, not give us
Yeah.
the technical specifications,
Or
right?
Randy
Like,
The
Pitchford
Twitch
Magic.
indie shows.
oh
Oh
my
God.
god, man, like, oh, I hate that stuff. But luckily, they've been starting to dwindle down because I think they've done enough research, or they should have by now, to know, okay, what kind of stuff do people want to see at a show, and what stuff is best left for after the show, like, your 15-minute wrap up. The people, if you're really into that stuff, and there are people that are into that stuff, like, God love Mark Cerny, but he's not the most entertaining guy to listen to, right? So, but people do like this stuff, but just leave it. There's a time and a place for that.
That's like
Right?
taking
You also-
technology class.
You also get, because they have to see so many people, they get sick of it. They get burnt out. I met I can't remember his name, but the guy who made the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I met him in person at a convention. He was just, it was like looking at a deer in headlights. He was just dazed, looking past everybody. He had already had enough for the day. Everyone goes on about how cool he is, but like he was so out of it at that point where he didn't give a shit about anybody. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He's like, he had enough. And it just was a terrible experience for anybody who had a chance to talk to him, which is why it's better to not have to deal with that, because that's going to happen. They say the same thing 100 times over. They're going to get sick of talking to people. I wouldn't want to repeat myself.
It's my 30th interview today.
Hours and hours. People, you're going to get sick of doing it.
Try doing
my-
multiple podcasts a week. Same feeling.
Not to the extent of doing it one-on-one 100 times over. You're doing it, you're doing a lot still, but it's still not to the same caliber.
That person should have known that I come with territory.
So like it's not the same. And it's just,
I mean, you've all seen me in the chat before a show. I go, I really don't want to talk about this again.
yeah. So, so it's just what it is. Like it's not going to be the shiny experience, with an interview at a convention as it would be. So I want to get. It's not the same.
Shining a spotlight on E3 to shining the spotlight on the latest indie dev game. Let's bring in Coolcat Terri with the indie spotlight for the week before the show starts to hit its 2-hour runtime. And something tells me I only have Scrub for the 2 hours today, I'm guessing. Okay, so I'm good to have you back, by the way, Scrub. We missed you last week, but good to have you here. Obviously missing Axel this week, but here she is, Coolcat Terri with the indie spotlight. So let's bring.
All right, everybody. I'm gonna show you. You guys know the routine, and pretty much I hop into the trailer first so I can explain it. Because if I explain it and then I show the trailer, then there's going to be, I think, more questions than answers. Really. What did I just look at? So check out the trailer for Valley.
Welcome to the Pathfinder program. You will be tasked with operating the newly developed leaf suit. Good luck and safe journey. Pathfinder is a designation assigned to soldiers piloting leaf suits. They are granted incredible speed and agility, in addition to the unrivaled power to control life and death. Mark my words. These are the soldiers of the future.
The valley. It's suffering. Are we slowly killing this place? To think these ruins have existed here for so long.
This is the discovery of a lifetime, no? Of the 20th century. What the hell was that?
Valley. Interesting.
All right, so this is an older game, as you guys see, because it's something that people, it's another one that got passed over. This is going to be a game for people who are, fans of first person and you like adventure and exploration. This is all about exploring, so you can unfold more of the story. So, if you're really into that, this game's definitely for you. They mention how your soldier's in a leaf suit. So the leaf suit is an exoskeleton that gives you speed and strength and agility. And as you keep playing, you can upgrade it, get more abilities, more strength, all that good stuff. It also gives you the ability to bring living things to life or to death. As you saw, they brought a dead deer back to life, so you get to control life and death, which is definitely pretty intriguing. The other aspect of the game, which is really cool, is the more you die in the game, the more the valley will start to die around you, which is a really, really cool thing. And before people will be like, oh, kind of like how Hellblade did it. Like, no, this game actually came out before Hellblade, so no. So it's just really, really cool. So it's really going to shape how it is. That the whole idea is you have like this military doing their thing, and they find this valley that they didn't know existed, and it has all this new wonder, and they want to use it for resources. As military entities are always looking for resources to do things. So you can unveil the game. It's $15. You can get it on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, your Switch. This game goes on sale all the time. Last week it was already on sale on Steam, and you could have gotten it for like $3 or something like that. It goes on sale very, very often for PC. So go ahead and check it out. And you can, for those of you who are concerned about time, if you want to 100% the game and do everything, it'll take you about 10 hours. If you just want to play through the story, about 5 hours. So it's not going to be, you don't have to worry about, it's not going to be an exploration game that's going to take you 200 hours like Assassin's Creed. So for those of you that want to explore but don't want the Assassin's Creed thing, this one's good. You're good.
So the valley dies as you die. So I'm thinking my gameplay would be scorched earth pretty quick.
Hey, look, Paul's game of Chernobyl.
and then what is it? And then the developer of this game is also, for those of you who are horror fans, they are the makers of Slender: The Arrival. So it's the same company.
Oh, cool. I remember that one. Never played that one either, but yeah, cool stuff. All right. Well, we're almost going to segue into that because obviously Slender was a little indie game that came out and turned into its own movie and has almost, has a little bit of a cult following, so to speak. Slender Man. So we're going to talk about movies right now and sort of, their evolution from being traditionally garbage to actually starting to get some pretty good movies. We're going to start with the new Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie, which is out here, I think in the next couple of weeks, if I'm correct. So far, it's had some early reviews, and all indications look like this one's going to be a winner and even better than the first movie. So my first question to the panel is, and we can do a random who wants to jump on this. Did you like the first movie? Are you excited for the second one? And I guess the second part of this whole equation is, are these studios finally starting to wake up, listen to what makes games have been great, but notoriously the movies have not. And I think the biggest problem with a lot of adaptations from coming from a game to a movie is that, one, they seem to ignore or forget their target audience. I guess their target audience is different, but I guess the game audience, right? The biggest critics are always going to be the game audiences because they're going to come in with a preconceived notion of what the game is supposed to be, what, all that sort of stuff. Whereas an average person just walking into a theater is going to look at it. It's like this Halo show. People that are just watching the Halo show without reading all the books and getting too deep in the lore are probably really liking it, just on a sci-fi aspect. But for those who are like hardcore, they're like, what is this? And there's that. And, they spend the whole episode criticizing everything they get wrong. So it's a little bit of both. But our movie's finally getting it right. We're starting to, obviously Uncharted, I don't know if it got it right, but it certainly was a very successful movie. Still in theaters, I do believe, but it's obviously did pretty well. We saw the last Tomb Raider movie, which came out and started to look a little bit like the game. You know, there was definitely a lot of things there. So the last few game movies we sort of have, for the most part, have been stepping in the right direction. Sonic might be one of the biggest ones, and now I know next year or later on this year, I think it is coming up before Christmas. I think there's a Super Mario movie. I do believe that one's going to be all CGI, if I'm correct. But how do you guys feel about that? Are they getting it right? And what does it take to make a good game movie? Who wants to take the floor on this one?
I'll say something quick because I won't. I'll be one of the folks who's like, no, I didn't watch the first Sonic movie, and I'm not going to be one of those that, I gotta go watch
Blasphemy.
this. Yeah, blasphemy. Yeah, whatever. And the second one either. Yeah, I've played Sonic games, but it's like I've never been. Oh, I got to check that Sonic movie. I mean, I watched a cartoon with Jaleel White in there a little bit, but I was never one of those guys. I'm all in on Sonic, but I do understand the importance of it. But a lot of the times with these games, I think it will take a couple more years, but the movies are getting better because the technology is getting better to actually try to portray what happens in the games in a movie format. Super Mario Brothers movie back in the what was that, late 80s, early 90s? It was horrible because they didn't have the equipment.
We call those the dark
stuff.
ages. We call those the dark ages.
Yeah, they didn't have the ability to portray what it actually is in the game. Then you come with other stuff. Mortal Kombat, same thing. Back the old Mortal Kombat games, you didn't have the ability to show off what you could. Some of it, yes, you couldn't get the big actors as well. So yeah, the acting might not be the perfect, but a lot of it was the technology. So with Sonic, and glad they fixed the fur and the teeth. It was hideous, but they listened to the fans. That was one way.
That's a great point. I was going to ask you about that.
And then, so them doing that, listening to the fans, then you can kind of see that this was more a company that wanted to do right by the game and do right by the fans. So I think this is where you're getting a better showing. Like, to me, when they're complaining that this shows too much of the main character, Sonic, and then the people, we've heard some of the critics say that just tells you right there that they're listening more to the fans and being more true to the story, because we don't care about Cyclops. What's his name? Marston. He's just a sidekick. We don't really care about him. We care about Sonic and Tails, and now you have Knuckles and Robotnik. I mean, it has Idris Elba in there, so of course it's going to be pretty good. I'm just saying. But I think with the technology getting better and better, you're going to have better games. Just think of the superhero movies. Technology getting better, box office getting better. Guess what? You start getting better actors and more budget putting into the games. I mean, into the movies. You're going to same thing with the games movies. You're going to have more money for the budget. You're going to have better actors, and you're going to end up getting better movies over time.
Nice.
Let me speak up here.
Go ahead.
I also think the part of the difference is like with the Mario Brothers movie, and part of it is now a lot of the franchise they're taking to make movies of or shows of actually have storylines behind them. When they did Mario in the 80s, the whole storyline was I rescue the princess again and again and again and again, and there wasn't really a fleshed out story. And I think with things like Uncharted, things like over time, a storyline has developed for all of the Sonic and all that stuff that they can flesh into. If they get good writers, can flesh into an actual script and not just taking the name and making something of it and trying to hope it sticks on that, because then you do get that has nothing to do with the game crowd. It's so I think a lot of that's what's changed is now these games have stories, they have history. Like Halo and, all that stuff that they can feed off of. It's not going to be a one-for-one thing always, but at least they have something they can draw from and go, hey, this is a good idea. Let's put that in the movie. And if they get the right writers, it fleshes it out and makes it a decent thing. So I think we're seeing more of that instead of let's just, well, Mario is popular, and Mario and Luigi, and let's put them in their colored suits and have them run around and do goofy stuff. That's not a story. Somebody in the chat said this new Mario movie is going to be fire because the kids are going to watch it, which may be true, but I still come down to what's the story behind Mario? He's a plumber.
Right.
It's so and
I'm gonna push back on that, Paul.
Plumber.
I mean, the Emoji Movie had a great story behind it. I mean, you had a smiley face, you had a thumbs up person.
Well, that was
a
that was written by that was
storyline.
written by writers who had fun. That was written by writers who just had fun.
No, I never saw that movie either. But I'm just.
By the way, the first Sonic movie, I've never been a Sonic game fan. But Scrub, if you ever have time, just sit down and watch. It's a fun movie. It really is.
Yes, I will watch it eventually.
Yeah.
I'm just not breaking my back on it, but I will check it out.
Yep. So that's it with me. I think that we're getting better because the stories are getting better, and as long as you have somebody involved who understands the game side a little bit, like Halo, the whole thing's been, well, they don't know anything about they said they never played the games or never read the books.
Yeah.
Somebody there knows what they're doing because they've got the sound right and most of the look right. And,
but that's just it, right? The thing is, and this is why the original Mortal Kombat is still revered by some. As cheesy as it is, and you can go back and watch it, and yes, it is kind of cheesy by today's standards, but the reason why the first Mortal Kombat is still revered by some is because they did keep a lot of authenticity to it. Like the characters actually look fairly close to their game counterparts. The story didn't, completely stray off course. They had some half decent name actors in there, obviously at the time, like Christopher Lambert was still kind of big, and and there was a few other people in that movie, but you know what I'm saying? Like this is the thing, and that's where I think they're starting to get it, because Sonic the Hedgehog, I mean, of course, the biggest question there was, he's CGI, right? So you got that mix of live action with CGI, and some people choose to do that, some people don't. We also saw, like, was it Detective Pokemon? Right? Well, some people liked that movie, some people didn't. Sonic was far more successful in the theaters than that, which almost came out around the same time. Now, that could be a character thing, or because you would think with Pokemon being one of the hugest game franchises in the world, that Detective Pokemon would have just, been a license to just make money. But it did okay. But again, I think a lot of it comes down to authenticity. This is the thing with, like, the Resident Evil movies. Like, on an action standpoint, the movies were, like, okay for the most part. But the fact is, like, your main character, first of all, is not even a main character in the game franchises that people knew and loved. That was the first kind of like, what the frig are you doing? Why is she not a character we know? You're making up new characters. As those movies progress, I think they started to get a little closer to the games, but by then it was kind of like, who even cares? Well, they make 6 of them with Mila Jovovich, and they started to get so stupid that I don't know, personally, I didn't care for them. The CGI ones, in my opinion, were way, way better than the live action stuff. And I don't want to get off course, but you see what I'm saying? It's all about at least keeping authenticity. That's where I think why the Halo show is doing pretty good, because it does keep enough authenticity there to make it look and feel like Halo. But obviously, they've changed a few things, and I totally get it. We all should know that TV shows are a different beast than movies. Movies got to sum everything up in a 2 to 2.5 hour time frame. Whereas a TV show, you can't just have, like, the first episode of Halo, right? That was like a lot of action. And compared to the second episode, it was almost completely different. But that's just it. You got to flesh out characters. You can't have them shooting guns the whole time, or people get bored with that, or they go, there's no what do you call it? There's no connection to a character. There's no love. It's just CGI and aggressive action scenes, and that might work for a couple, but it's not going to take you through. Even Game of Thrones, one of the biggest budgeted TV series, had its episodes that were kind of like, well, this is a bit of a change of pace, but at the end of the day, that's what builds story, and every movie always has that lull sometimes where, it's a great start, then there's that little bit in the middle, kind of just, bogs it down, and it picks back up for the big finale. Whether you love it or hate it, again, it just comes down to, my opinion, I think, authenticity, right? And the ones that get it close, I mean, the Street Fighter movie, for example, did have some sense of authenticity, but that was just so bad on so many other levels, right? So, but anyway, I don't want to hog the screen. Who else wants to take over?
I do wonder too how the box office will show with this game, with this new movie versus the first one. The first one movie was the biggest movie of the whole entire year because COVID shut down everything.
Mhm.
It was like one of the last movies in the theaters before COVID. So I do want to see are you going to have a bigger crowd since more theaters are open now and people are out, or will it fall out off because more people were going to see that because there wasn't as many theaters and other stuff to see at the time? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it'll do better because of how well the first one did, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I
to
was
see.
going to say, I think because of the hype from the first one, this one's going to carry
way
over and
bigger.
people are going to.
Way bigger.
Mm-hmm.
People are actually able to go to the movie theater. Plus, then you're going to get the digital and the other revenue from it. So it'll be way bigger than the first one. And Jim Carrey, like, he's awesome. Like, his character's more fleshed out because he sort of became the more identifiable Dr. Robotnik toward the end of the movie.
Right.
So now he's there, that big crazy mustache and wacky looking and like bigger, better. And as even the article that I was reading the end review, and he just said basically it does almost everything that the first done movie, just again, like a great video game, does it bigger and better. And you got Tails in there now, which will be quite interesting. Kind of funny because Tails showed up in the game Sonic 2, even the movie poster. Like, see, that's what I'm talking about. Even the homage in the movie poster, how they throwed it back to the game case of Sonic 2.
Right.
This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. This is where it tells me that they're not just catering to let's get the little kids who don't really know what Sonic game is about. They're catering. They're catering like to the old school fan as well. They're catering like the average kid wouldn't know what Sonic 2 box art looks like, but all of us who grew up with the game are like, that's pretty freaking cool. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is what I'm saying. This is where they're listening. Like you said, Scrub, about the whole redesign of Sonic. If that hadn't have happened, my guess is that movie would not have been successful in even close if they had left that, if that thing had been like that.
It would have tanked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It could have been just another weird looking little CGI movie because that character looked like some kind of abomination of Sonic the Hedgehog, like something like a Sonic you'd see in a bad dream. Right?
Yeah, Sonic with cancer and was dipped in acid kind of thing.
Ouch.
Yeah, when did Sonic get dentures? I mean, well, come on, man.
Those teeth and everything. It was horrible.
By the way, Detective Pokemon was a happy little surprise when I finally watched it. It was actually a fun movie. Yeah.
Well, a lot of them are, right? And there was a little bit of authenticity there too, but just, it was different.
Yeah.
Coolcat, Eternal Shaddai. What do you think about the authenticity of games, movies finally transcending here?
I think it's good. I mean, the Sonic film, the first one, it definitely had plenty of Easter eggs and fan service in it for the hardcore fans. And at the same time, it had a lot of things to, push for it being a kids movie so that kids could enjoy it, even if the parents didn't. So, I mean, it was a good film. I myself am not a Sonic fan personally, but my husband's a diehard Sonic fan. So I'm going to have to see it because he's going to see it, So, I mean, it was a good film. For me, I didn't like that they spent majority, like pretty much 95% of the movie was in our world. Like, I hated that. I hated that so much.
Right.
Like, for me, seeing a Sonic film, I want to see it in his universe, not ours.
It started off that way, right? Where he was in Green Hill kind of thing.
So that's what I'm saying. Like the intro of the movie was amazing because he was where he should have been the whole movie. And then they warped him out of it. And it was, I just hated that whole entire aspect
the
of it.
Smurfs movies did that too.
The acting was well done. And the story was good. So I don't want to rag on it too much. It's just, when it comes to trying to get into it, I couldn't get immersed in it because I'm like, Sonic doesn't belong here. He doesn't fit in. He's a cartoon character and he's the only cartoon character. Like, at least in his universe, there's people in his universe, but they're drawn the same way he is. So it makes sense. He just doesn't fit in there at all.
Okay. So do you think that they did the live action part then of that movie to sort of kind of draw the adult crowd in perhaps a little bit more?
No, I think they did it to save on money because CGI is so freaking expensive. I don't know. I don't know. I that's the biggest issue I had with the movie was the fact that they had Sonic in the IRL stuff, and I hated it so much. But the rest of the movie was good and well done. And like my husband loved it because they hit all the right parts for fan service to where a diehard fan would be pleased. Because I mean, Sonic's 35, so the hardcore fans are in my age bracket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have to still appeal to them, but at the same time, they did, like I said, they did a great job with it to where a child who doesn't know who Sonic is would be able to enjoy the film. And get them introduced to the character. So it was well done. It's just for me, I couldn't get immersed in it because I'm like, Sonic is so out of freaking place here. It hurts my eyes. But that's pretty much that. And then I'm really hoping with the second one that they'll have more screen time of them in Sonic's realm. And I'm hoping they just go to the real world. They grab what's his face and they pull him over there and they do stuff. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm gonna. That's again. They all decide to come back to our world and do their thing. I'm gonna be disappointed because I don't want to see that. So because it's just that's pretty much that. And then there was something else I wanted. But I mean, it's a good film. It's just like I said, I'm not a fan of Sonic. I've never been a fan of Sonic, so I'm not excited to see it. But I'm gonna have to see it because my husband's gonna like go nuts about this film. So it's one of those things. But I think when it comes to like how to your question though, I think they are getting a little bit better, but they're not there because when you look at film adaptations of video games outside of this one and like a couple of them, they're all pretty much still freaking terrible. I mean, we not too long ago we had Warcraft, we had Monster Hunter.
Oh, I really forgot about that turd, Warcraft. Yeah, that was a serious turd.
we had the Monster
Thank you for.
Hunter
That's. I'm gonna have to go to therapy again because you brought that up. Holy shit.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed. They're still terrible and missing the mark. And even the new Tomb Raider one. I mean, I'm a huge Tomb Raider fan. I didn't like that movie.
Which one are you talking about? The one with Angelina Jolie or the other one?
No, the new one. I don't even know the actress that freaking played it.
And then Vikander.
The one based off of the reboot.
Yes.
Yeah. Alicia Vikander. Yeah.
I didn't like that movie. And so it was good compared to other video game movies. I mean, that one would be higher on the list but they don't have much competition because they're all crap. So it's just even the new, the brand new Mortal Kombat film. I did a whole rant on my show.
It's like you say, bad sex is better than no sex, right?
So it's just
no goodness.
I mean,
I don't.
The video game movies, some of them are good, but there isn't a single one that's great.
Yeah,
in my opinion. There isn't one that's great.
But yeah, that's a great one. John brings up Assassin's Creed. Michael Fassbender as Assassin's Creed. What did you guys think of that? I mean, obviously a top tier actor in the role. What did you guys think of that one? Because to me, I was like, like it wasn't amazing either. They did some things right, but then they did so much. It was like, what the hell are we watching?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I actually own the movie. I think I actually got it for free for something.
I think my favorite part was watching them do the swan dive off the tower. It was like, well, that's right from the game. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
pretty much the only part that was right from the game.
They took a lot of liberties with the story and everything like that.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, how do these guys though keep messing it up? Can they not bring someone in? I mean, I'm sure they probably do, but like, they need to bring someone in who's really attached to the game franchise, knows it in and out, and is going to tell these guys, the only way this movie is going to go is you're going to follow my lead because I made the game, and the movie needs to at least mimic the game to certain degrees. Obviously, you got to change certain things. But, like, some of these movies go so far off the rails, you're like, don't you kind of wonder, like, if you were the game designer, wouldn't you be furious? Like, what are you doing? You're almost ruining my franchise.
Because
especially with Assassin's Creed. Yeah, with Assassin's Creed, they had even back when they did that movie, they had enough of a thread through the whole the first few games of the series that there's a lot they could have done without totally screwing it up. It's not like it was lacking for content.
Yeah.
I think what too many things, because a lot of times the studio is not writing the story. That's one thing.
Right.
The people who are creating the games and writing
Right.
they're not writing the story. And then two, you're having a problem of, oh, there's 4 games out. Let's say it's Gears or Halo or anything. Let's try to put our own new story in there or put
Right.
our spin. They
Yeah.
don't want to retell or like, okay, we're going to make a movie that starts right from where the last one left off. So a lot of times them creating their own story, they're trying to make stuff so different that it ends up messing up. You kind of lose the shimmer of what the story is because you're trying to go so different.
Yeah, that'd be
And I
like,
think
you
it
know, it's
hurts
like a
it.
car. It'd be like a Ferrari car manufacturer trying to make a Ferrari that works for the average everyday smart car audience. It's got the Ferrari name on it, but it only goes about 100 kilometers an hour and takes electricity. You know what I mean? Like it's that equivalent in the movies. It's like they try to take a good thing, but they try to force it down. That's the thing. They always try to force it down the people that aren't fans of that something so
Yep.
they will enjoy it. And I think that's where they miss, because you always got to stay true to your content to at least a certain degree.
Well, you
But
make less
it goes
money
back
that
to
way.
me.
That's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
they want to reach
To
as
me,
many people
yeah.
as possible.
Yep. But to me, it goes back. They could have done Assassin's Creed: The Origins correctly, based it on explaining the whole thing with the company and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, and made it an enjoyable movie for everybody without totally breaking everything else.
They could have made they could have made the actors Altair to start everything off, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And did they more and did the animus right? That was the other thing. They kind of really screwed up the whole animus side of things. It's just weird. You know?
They
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 try to
actually
put their
they
own
absolutely
twist.
could have started you in the past and then pulled you out and said, "Here's what we're doing," and okay, we had to pull you out for this reason or whatever. And start with the action. You're right. Start with like the game does. The very first game, the way it opens up is you're on that first that tear through, whatever town they're in, and you assassinate that guy, and then the title screen starts. Okay,
Exactly.
that's how they should have started the damn movie. Yeah, that's
Let me give this man a producer role.
yeah.
Another issue though is it's hard to translate between a video game and an actual picture, is because these characters are so larger than life and they do all these crazy things that no person can actually do. So to try to make it seem somewhat realistic in a film, it just doesn't translate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hollywood is definitely notorious for being on their own BS with making things unbelievable. Like there's no way that would happen and people will believe it. But there's a level of it to where they can't pull it off, and it'd be because it's just too unbelievable. And that's usually what happens in video games. It's too unbelievable that you're gonna watch this movie, you're gonna be like, "What is this? This is ridiculous."
I think that the technology's moved forward enough now that that's almost a non-issue if they have the funds and the resources to do it.
Because I mean, if you just looked at like Tomb Raider, like literally like in the opening scene of the remake, Lara slides down and gets punctured by freaking rebar, and 5 minutes later she's perfectly fine. You can't translate that in a film. No one's gonna believe that she got this huge injury and she's just gonna walk it off. It's not gonna translate in a movie. They have to completely change the movie to make it seem like it's still a hindrance for it to make sense. And then they're just going to keep making more and more changes to accommodate this plot hole that they have now, because a video game can just walk it off because we have health regeneration. You know what I mean? So it's not going to make sense in a movie.
See, there's that point. Like, see, John 907. My dad never played the game, never was a gamer, but he loved the movie. So I guess to some degree they obviously hit another audience. We might never see another Assassin's Creed, but he might be like, man, I would love to see another. So sometimes I get it. It's totally hit and miss. And before we just come back to this, let's let Scrub Nurse get out of here. It's 2 hours on the dot. Scrub, you got to go. So again, thanks for being here, and let people know where they can catch up with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 2 things. I'm gonna throw in here with Game Pass.
Oh yes, darn, I forgot about that.
You actually let it pass.
Yeah. Hold on, say we're gonna share screen, and then we're gonna get it all done. All right. So of course we're on Game Pass Counter. So I want to show everybody, just in case if you want to know, Destiny Beyond Light 2 is leaving April the 11th. So if you want to jump on that and check it out, please do. Also, I want to show, I know we got a lot of games that are coming on later down the road. Microsoft Edge notification. All right. MLB The Show 22, April 5th. That is coming up pretty soon. Some would say in 2
Tuesday.
days. Yes. So please, if you want to check that out, I know the last time MLB The Show came to Game Pass, it was a big thing. So it actually came back again. So let's pump those numbers up. If you're
Let's hope
interested,
it works
check it
this
out.
time. Let's hope it
Yeah.
works this time.
I enjoyed it last year. I mainly played just by myself, going through the season or creating my players. So if you like those games, check them out. If you don't like those games, check it out, and you might start liking them. So also I'm gonna pull up here. Rainbow Six Extraction and Rainbow Six Siege came out. I know Extraction came out and it wasn't as big of a hit as a lot of people wanted to check it out, but now you can check it out through Game Pass if you didn't get a chance to. Also, Weird West is a game that just came out. It's been getting a lot of hype. So if you're thinking about that, check it out. A lot of times stuff will get hidden under it. You won't notice a game came out because there's not a lot of commercials or different things of that nature talking about it. So those are what I have for right now. Just keep playing your games and having fun. Freak everybody out for a second, but
you got his own counter.
That's right. So yeah, you can check me out on Twitter, ScrubNurse3. You can also find me on Xbox, Scrub Space Nurse. And then, like I've been playing Tiny Tina's Wonderland. It's a pretty good game. I've been enjoying it. It has its problems. It has its co-op connections. There's a lot of things that are not good with it right now. If you're just playing by yourself, it's usually a very good game, but there are some lag issues. They have to work with the servers, but I've been enjoying that. So if you want to check it out, play with some friends, do that as well. So, and then, like I said, I said to Twitter, yeah, we're here on Sundays. I love to see everybody in the chat. Just keep playing games, have fun. Check out Gaming Beyond the Box on Wednesday nights. And y'all have a good rest of the Sunday. Just get ready for Monday.
Take care, Scrub. Thanks for being with us, brother. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
All right, I'll see y'all later. Take it easy.
Yeah, you guys can catch Scrub. Like I said, the description is in the chat. We got a super chat coming in here from our good friend Splendiferous, who's in the chat. He drops $2. Here's what he says, and who would like to read that one out? Go ahead, Shaddai.
Good morning, panel. You guys surely look like crooks.
I wonder who he's referring to.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Happy Cloud Gamer, good to see you here, my friend. Thanks for being here. 40 awesome, amazing people in the chat this morning, including our good friend Dreadpool, who, by the way, will be one of my special guests on Gaming After Dark this Tuesday, along with Wilmy Hood. Looking forward to that, but we'll talk more about that later before the end. Getting back, all right, Shaddai, what do you think? What's going on?
Just to make it sure, you guys sums it up. As long as the director and actually the creators of the game are working together and make it a good adaptation from game to movie, I'm all in. It's just that I don't like when they make some weird changes, or pretty much make it the same. For example, I remember when Ratchet and Clank was a movie and then it came out as a game exactly like the movie. So that's something that is a bummer, to actually create something like that for kids, but as a game, they haven't make a change. That's like porting a movie to a game just like that, just to make a lazy move. But other than that, as long as they make it correctly how it's supposed to, I'm all in. I'm actually looking forward for Sonic 2. I have watched the first one. It was really, really good. The question is, when are we going to see Jim Carrey be a little bit large, equally to Dr. Robotnik in the game?
I guess, probably by Sonic 3 starts to get fat, maybe.
But the problem is that I think I saw, unless if I'm incorrect, please change that. Didn't he retire from acting now?
There's an article floating around. I don't know how much true. I mean,
Right.
he's been kind of talking about for years. He's definitely stepped back and hasn't done near as much projects and has expanded. So perhaps he is. I mean, the guy has nothing else really. He wants to prove, I guess, per se. He's certainly made tons of money and has had plenty of successful films. So I don't know. That's what he's talking about, whether he does it or not, or maybe he comes back to do a Sonic 3. Maybe he just has that affinity to one role, right?
Right.
Money
And I was
talks,
thinking,
though. Money
Yeah,
talks.
absolutely.
So if they put the right dollar sign on something, he'll make a comeback. Like,
oh, they'll give him a lot of rings, Sonic rings.
You know
So
what I
he'll
mean?
get plenty. He'll get plenty. but other than that, please do not change anything. Oh God. Yeah,
you got distracted. You threw him off.
yeah. She's gonna tell me that later once I'm done with her. She'll tell me that later.
Somebody
But-
chat says, you look so sexy.
Yeah, right. but other than that, as long as they adapt it correctly, how the game is, you can make some small changes. I'm all in.
Yeah.
But you guys just sums it up. You guys did.
Yeah, the thing for me is casting as well, and some movies get it right, some movies don't. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally get why the studios with the Uncharted one picked, what's his name there, the Spider-Man dude, for the role. Originally, it was oddly enough, it was Mark Wahlberg was the original casting for Nathan Drake. But now obviously he became Sully, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The fan made, which they had Nathan Fillion, was way better. See, that's something that you know how to interpret. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh my God. I thought that was so good with Nathan.
It was, but it was also a short little piece compared to a
Yeah.
whole movie. And,
Well,
Okay,
that was his ploy to basically try to get
Yeah.
people to say, like, hey, the fans are asking for me to be in this role. I want to do the role. He actually talks exactly like the actor who
like
did in the
him. That's
game.
what I'm saying.
Actually, they even did that. They
Yeah.
had, was it Nolan North actually did,
Yeah.
I think it was Fillion, and Fillion did Nolan North. And I was like,
Yeah.
my God, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And all I keep getting is, well, Nathan Fillion's like fucking 40 odd years old, dude. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger's still doing goddamn Terminators. Nathan Fillion
Harrison Ford for another Indiana Jones.
right?
Yeah,
Come
okay.
on, guys.
Okay, look at Schwarzenegger in his most recent Terminator role. He barely stood up. Okay, and he didn't move. And he didn't move a whole lot.
Hey, you know what, Paul? Robots that are that old get rusty. Okay, you should do a Terminator WD-40 commercial, right? Before with the skin on, and after with his nose just squeaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, the power and bot's bad again.
Oh, here we go.
There
It's your
go.
favorite porn bot. Yeah.
Yeah. Talked about squeaking in the porn bot show. Go. Okay. But anyway, sorry to cut you off. But go ahead. Say what you had to say.
No, actually, Fastback said something really, really good. Nathan Fillion could play a older Nathan Drake, which I actually do agree. I can actually agree.
I don't know, like it's just when a guy literally comes out and he's a popular actor, it's not like he's a no name either. Like people know Nathan Fillion, and he's been in a few good roles. Yes, sure, it would be greater if he was probably still 25. The way he looked back when he was still doing that amazing show that they had that got canceled. But Firefly?
Arrested Development.
No, Firefly.
No, fool. It's a Arrested Development.
One of the most beloved shows ever. Sure, yes, but the fact that he wanted to play it and they totally ignored it. Again, this just shows you how out of touch sometimes studios are, because again, it's all about you got to get the hot guy now. That sort of thing, and that's where I disagree with them. But obviously people liked it, so I'm not. I like Tom.
It would have been
Holland.
nice. See,
I think it was. I like I said last time we talked about this. I think it was more than just we got to get the hot guy now. I think it was also franchise,
Right,
sequels, the ability to move forward. Because Nathan Fillion would age out pretty quick. Yeah.
Because I know it would have been nice. Yes, Tom Holland could have played the Nathan Drake when he was younger on Uncharted 3.
Okay.
And then Nathan Fillion fill it up for the rest.
I vote we all start a Kickstarter to get an actual Uncharted movie made with Nathan Fillion, like maybe like a third party thing. Some studio comes in, funds a full, 90 to 2 hour movie with Fillion. That's what I say. Before he gets too old. And you get, what's his name? J.K. Simmons to be Sully. Because I think he'd do an awesome Sully. I can see the cigar in his mouth already, be like Sully or Nathan, you know,
Mhm.
you know, something like that. But anyway, getting off topic. But go ahead.
I know. No, but I don't have nothing else to say. Seriously, you guys sums it up.
Okay.
I wanted to just add that when it because I think Scrub brought it up with the design of Sonic or whatever.
Yeah.
My husband and I still firmly believe that was a marketing stunt because they were able to fix that so freaking fast. And even before they fixed it, Jim Carrey was just going crazy hard fighting to convince everybody that things aren't what they seem. It's going to be amazing that he worked so hard on the film, and that people really need to not judge what they see, actually see it. Like, he fought crazy hard to convince people to go and see this film before they made the correction. That tells me that clearly he knew what was really going on, and I feel like it was just a way to get everybody to talk about it because everybody was freaking talking about it. So it was
making sure.
So it's just I just feel like no, I think they did it on purpose. And then when they switched things around, then the items that they were selling that had that original look became hot commodities. Everybody wanted to buy them as gay gifts, and because now they would be rare because they got replaced. So I think it really was just like a marketing scheme that people fell for. And if it was, they did a fantastic job because it worked. Everybody was talking about that film.
There you go. All right. Well, our last, we're over time. Do you guys even want to get into the last topic real quick?
What was the last topic? You never really told us what it was. So,
I know.
Yeah, it's the Starfield. Starfield, and the dev is saying players are going to lose their minds. So
yes,
this is a premeditated hype for a game. We have no idea. I mean, some people are talking. I'm hearing, like, again, for people in the know, you're kind of hearing that little bit of a buzz. But we have seen this before and then been severely disappointed. So the quote is, "It's been so awe-inspiring watching Starfield morph into this amazing game little by little, and with us covering so much new ground. First new IP apparently too in like 19 years from the studio. So that's impressive in itself. Starting to sound like a developer called Rockstar. Hasn't made a game in like 19 years, it feels like.
It's true.
Yeah, so like, I mean, obviously, what are your hopes for the game? What will you think it's going to take for this game to seriously be considered, perhaps in the realm of Game of the Year? Because a lot of people now have already got off with Elden Ring apparently. So, which I'm moving forward to based on the reviews. I'm thinking Elden Ring is definitely going to be a forerunner, if not already a walk away for Game of the Year. So how can this game come out, be a great game on its own, compete against that, and perhaps be in that conversation? And of course, to Xbox, it probably, I'm guessing this kind of is important. They hope that it's in that conversation because it'll be a great way to sort of cap off a 2022, which has seen a little bit of a, unless Forza comes out this year, it's been a little bit lackluster so far from their standpoint, but that could change by the time we get to the E3, that time frame anyway.
I kind of want to jump in on it first because I know I'm going to have a negative take this way because Paul's a huge fan. I think it'd be better if we end on a positive note than on my negative note. just because I know he's going to enjoy, like, he's so hyped for the game. So for me, I mean, I still have no hype for this game, and I am a fan of Bethesda games. It's just I can't get hyped for it because I just know so little about it. They just keep using all these words, that just kind of, grab people's attention and, promote this game and get this, I feel like it's false hype, especially with all the disappointments I've had in games over the last, like, 5 years. I can't get hyped for it without really seeing what's going to be on with it. I'm not going to even, say it's Game of the Year yet because we don't even know what it is. I mean, we fell in that trap with Cyberpunk. Everyone was like, Cyberpunk's Game of the Year, Game of the Year.
Well, Happy Cloud Game in the chat says that Starfield's my game of the year, and I'm thinking, is it game of the year or most anticipated? If you said most anticipated,
I could say if it is all the things that they say it is, it definitely would be a contender. But I'm not going to say it's game of the year. We don't even know what it is yet. So it's too early to say that. I mean, like I said, with Cyberpunk, the developers all talked a big game about how it was like this big undertaking that they did, and they're so excited to show us what they got, and they worked so hard. And I'm not going to say they didn't work hard, because the scope of the environment that they built is freaking impressive as heck. But the game just did not meet the expectations. It was they bit off more they could chew. It wasn't ready yet, and they got pushed to put it out. And it just became the biggest disappointment of that year. And I'm worried that, Bethesda being Bethesda, I mean, they literally are, people, make fun of them and coin them as Bugthesda for a reason, because Bethesda has been notoriously lazy when it comes to game design, to where they make their games super shoddy and broken, and they depend on their fan mod community to fix their games for them, because they'll do a fantastic job writing their storyline, but then when it comes to actual game design, they just put it away, because they know the mod community will fix it for them, and that's not the way anything should be. And I have to look at that at face value, because that's what Bethesda's known for. So why would they not once again do that with Starfield? Where it's going to have all these problems, and the mod community is going to once again have to make the game what it should have been. And so, no, I have no faith at this point. And because Bethesda's Bethesda. I love Bethesda. I enjoy their games, but I cannot, say Bethesda has amazing quality games, because they do not. All their games have major freaking flaws when it comes to game engines and design and mechanics. So no, they are not, top notch when it comes to all the AAA studios out there. They are not in the league, in my opinion, based on the quality that they throw out and they get away with, that other studios would never get away with. So no, I can't. I have to wait for the game to come out and let the game speak for itself. I'm not going to let freaking journalists and developers, freaking sugarcoat everything to make it seem it's going to be this amazing experience, just so we get let down again, because we're all going to make these crazy huge expectations like we did with Cyberpunk, and there's no way that any game is ever going to meet those kind of expectations that we start putting on it, because people don't know when to stop talking about it.
I can't totally disagree with you, Terry, because the same thing. I always hate it when you get, the sort of the this hype about stuff when we don't know enough about it, and especially a new established IP, like we don't even know how it's going to be received. We just know it's in space. It's not like they're going off a previous franchise. You know what I mean? So there could be a lot that goes wrong, and I always think that people set themselves up for disappointment when they get sort of overhyped, because then it never lives up to expectations. All right, you make it up in your head what you think it's going to be, and then you're like, Anyway,
much.
All right, who wants to? Shaddai, you want to jump in? We'll leave Paul for sort of last on here.
Just really quick. This is just a marketing move by Bethesda, because this is the first new IP under the Xbox, Game Studios banner, and they're gonna go hype it up to the max. They're gonna do that. They have shown a lot of screenshots, art designs, and all that. So they're trying to get people hyped. From I think one of the interviews they said that they were gonna show the gameplay at E3. Let's see how is it gonna go. And since they say it's similar to Fallout but in space, a lot of people, Bethesda fan, is gonna go with it, and they're gonna hype to the max. Like I said, they're gonna hype it to the max. And, that's their first game. That's the first game on their Xbox. So let's see how it goes. I can't say that much because we don't know that much other than pictures and all this and that. But I'm with Terry. I can't say and claim that Starfield is going to be game of the year if we haven't seen what it is and we haven't even played it. So I can't claim that.
No.
Let's see, that's a wait and see.
Well, see, this is the thing now that the From Software developers have gotten themselves into now, because Elden Ring is getting so much praise and people, this is Elden Ring. So can you imagine the pressure now their next game is going to have? Like, people are going to be calling it the game of the year before the game even comes out. Be like, well, it's from the guys who made Elden Ring, so it's going to be a game of the year.
That's the same thing. That's the same thing that happened to, who was it? Oh my God, I know it was our I think it was
Well,
an
same thing
early
with
game, but I
Cyberpunk.
can't. Not only
Cyberpunk's failure is because of the massive success of The Witcher, because everybody already had Cyberpunk touted to be like, well, it's a futuristic Witcher 3, essentially. You know what I mean?
because if I'm not I know if I'm not mistaken, I know they did that with Returnal, and then all of a sudden, then it was like, oh, Deathloop is gonna be Game of the Year. Then another one came out, and look who won! It Takes Two. You know what I mean?
Right.
We always keep saying that, oh, this is gonna be Game of the Year. Yeah, but it's so early in the year
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
don't know what other games are gonna come out and pretty much
Mhm.
beat that game. So you never know. You never know. Right now, from what we have seen, yes, it's Elden Ring as of right now because it's the most popular one. But there's still more games, on the horizon before the end of the year that probably surpass it. So we don't know. And as of right now, we keep saying that it's going to be Starfield. So the two major players at this very moment is going to be between Elden Ring and Starfield. That's the way I see it.
I also want to add, because I've said it before. You can't really, when it comes to game of the year, I mean, it's happened, but it's rare for the game of the year to be a game that comes out at the beginning of the year.
Exactly.
Usually, the game
Yep.
that wins game of the
Yep.
year is one that comes out near the end, because that's the one freshest on everybody's mind.
Yep.
I
Although
mean,
It Takes Two came out.
we've had a couple. Yeah, It Takes Two was one.
Was it February or May of last year?
It Takes Two was one, and Zelda was Breath of the Wild was one, and I think one of the was something on Xbox way many years ago was one, and I think Nintendo gets it with their with one of the Smash Bros ones many years ago. But that's it. That's like I can only think of like 4 out of like 20 some years. So it's usually a game in the fall that wins every freaking year because that's what everyone's.
It's kind of like the
playing.
Oscars. The Oscars always seem to give it to movies that come out right before the Oscars, as opposed to early in the year. It seems like.
Yeah, because that's what's fresh in everybody's mind. That's what they just recently seen. They're able to like, okay, this is my current feelings on it. Versus people can't remember how they feel about something that happened like 8 months ago. They've had that great emotion. They expressed it. And they moved on, and some people may have even forgotten that game came out that year. So it's just.
Yeah, well, God of War Ragnarok is still supposed to be scheduled for this year. Some Sony people think it's going to happen. Some people that are on the industry are thinking it's not coming out this year. Wouldn't be surprised if it slips to 2023, probably like in the spring. But we'll wait to see. Hopefully, we see more on God of War in future weeks, because we don't really see much by the middle or end of summer on God of War. Then I'd have to say it's not coming out. And Starfield, yes, I got to agree with Fastback. He thinks we'll say something at the Xbox show around June when they kind of do their non-E3 stuff. If we don't see much on Starfield by the end of June, July, it's going to start making me wonder, what the heck is it going to be? Another Halo thing? They keep talking about something, but they're afraid to show it. So I don't know.
So like Starfield comes out in November. Paul probably knows the date. Did they have a definitive date, or is it still just November?
It's a definitive date. It's the 22nd, I believe.
And they won't even qualify for Game of the Year then, because the cutoff is the 20th, so they won't even be in the running.
I thought it was the 11th of November.
Yeah, no.
11/11. Was it 11/11? That would be. Yeah.
If it's the 11th,
it could be.
Literally. Then that's going to be like the most recent game everyone's playing. So there's going to be, as long as the game isn't a Cyberpunk situation, it very well could win, because it's going to be like the last game that comes out before the award show.
November 11th, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 11/11/22. For some reason, I always get that turned around a little bit.
All right. Well, then, there you go. It's going to be the most recent game everyone's playing, so it's going to. It's probably going to. So it's already rigged at that point.
Can I speak now? Am I allowed to talk now? Well, first, let me say the one thing that will hold it back actually is the fact that it's not multi-plat. Remember, it's it is going to be an exclusive to Xbox and PC, and a lot of times, and game of the year voters seem to be a lot of Sony. A lot of Sony weight tends to carry into that Game of the Year thing. So that may hold it back, just because they're going to have a whole section of players that aren't going to vote it either because they haven't had a chance to play it or because they just don't like Xbox. I'm serious. I hate to say that, but we know it's true to a point. No matter how good it is. As far as the whole Bethesda theme, that's a term I've used as well. Mostly in their multiplayer stuff. I don't like, the whole Fallout 76 fiasco was, just really bad on their part. And ESO didn't really draw me in either, and I was on both of those from launch, if not before. So on some level, it worries me with their single player stuff. It doesn't bug me so much because I've had good experience with all their single player outings, even at launch. And I'm not saying those bugs weren't there. I'm just saying I haven't been one of the ones to experience a lot of it. So I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm not super hyped. I mean, I can say that I am super hyped for it, but I'm not foolish enough to go, yeah, it's going to be a Game of the Year contender. Can't say that. Can't even get close to that. Everybody says, I can understand why everybody thinks that what's it called is going to be Game of the Year, but it's a game that I can't even really play. So I couldn't vote for it for Game of the Year based on watching other people play it. But that's me. I tend to be I like to try to be an honest gamer when I talk about games and what I like and don't like. And yeah, it's a beautiful game. It's an amazing game. I'm glad so many people got to enjoy it. I wasn't one of those people. I'm not one of those people. So I couldn't honestly tell you what my Game of the Year is going to be this year yet. I can tell you that I'm not going to say it's going to be Starfield. How can I say that's like saying a movie is going to be the best picture and the movie's still 6 months out. Nobody's seen it. Yeah, okay. Because they do that kind of hype every once in a while too. I'm glad that the dev is hyped for what they've seen done, and I'm glad he thinks that the gamers are really going to enjoy it. I don't think it's a PR stunt. I think that was just his personal take on it. He's very proud of the work they're doing. I have no problem with that. And I think it was Stubbs or Fastback mentioned in the chat that this is not, even though this is their first game release under the Xbox banner, this game was started long before and almost in a complete state when Xbox took over. So it really doesn't, that pressure is there, but it's also not something that they built up to. It's, it was almost done. They've said it's pretty much done. We probably will start hearing and seeing things about the beta test in the next few months. The closed beta should, if it's not already started, be well on its way.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we're probably going to see some stuff at some of the shows this summer. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping to get into a beta at some point, if anybody's listening, because I am really interested to see how the game plays and what it's all about. And I'm hyped for it, but I'm not stupid hyped for it.
Yeah. Mind you, then again, we've heard about the almost done before from Cyberpunk developer, and how many delays that had. Oh yeah, we're in the finishing stages, and then it got delayed, and then it got delayed again. It was like, so
again, given Bethesda's history of not showing anything till it's close to being done and stuff, I have a little bit more faith there, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we all have high hopes. I don't really have much to say on it. Like, I think it's premature to be calling it sort of a game of the year when we don't know enough about it. I will say it's got to be up on one of the most highly anticipated games of the year. I'm certainly excited for it. I mean, it's a space RPG, comes from Bethesda. Like I said, they got a pretty good track record overall. I'm definitely excited about it, but until I see more of it, obviously the verdict is out. I'm hoping that God of War Ragnarok comes out this year. I feel that it will come out, and I'm excited for that. That could likely be my game of the year, considering that God of War 2018 was my game of the year in that particular year, and I love that game so much. So I have high hopes for the sequel. Horizon Forbidden West is so far my favorite game that I played in 2022. I'm still playing it. The game is massive, but again, there's lots to come. So I'm glad that, though, with the article, that they're getting excited, and when you say something, the players are going to lose their minds. I mean, that's, you don't often hear a lot of devs the game is this or that, but it sounds like, and I said, I've heard other people that have seen the game I think even Jez Corden or someone, I guess, who's seen a little bit of it, we're kind of like, wow, this game is pretty damn
That'll
cool
be
or something.
Jazz.
So you know, obviously there's some buzz around it, and its game has been in production for a while, and you know, and maybe as well, maybe even helps with Microsoft being there. You know, I don't think budget's an issue, but like I said, having that extra backing and a focus and also being able to come out, if it is coming out again on Xbox and PC, and they're not having to worry about ports, and they're not having to divert a team's time to try to make 5 or 6 versions of the game, then I think that's also a huge boost for them as well. They can just focus in on a set hardware, and perhaps this ends up being one of the prettiest looking games and on the Xbox platform, hopefully. So that's the wish.
I really hope that they're right, and it does blow my mind, and it turns me from being, you know, a naysayer into a believer, because that I really do want to see this game be amazing.
Yeah, I would like it as well. Yeah.
I can't get on that bandwagon until, you know, seeing is believing. You know, I've been disappointed too many times. I need to play it, and I need to actually enjoy it before I, you know, talk it up.
Yep.
Just reach for the stars in Starfield.
Stubbs saying Starfield should be multi-plat. Well, like I said, great. It's great when games go multi-plat. I totally get it. But right now, based on where Microsoft is at and trying to sell Game Pass subscriptions, I think it's in their best interest to keep it exclusively to the PC Xbox ecosystem, because it's going to help sell subscriptions, bottom line. You know, yeah, they can make money either way. They can make tons of money by selling it on the PlayStation, but it kind of dilutes the message. This is the whole point. You can't spend millions of dollars marketing Game Pass and be kind of going, yeah, but it's over on your main competitor, essentially. I think that's just a bad look for them. They need to hold stuff out there, you know, like they got to hold stuff back. Otherwise, Game Pass is, in my opinion, Game Pass will lose some of its value if you don't technically need Game Pass to play the stuff that's on Game Pass. You know what I mean?
But look at it now, not to throw jazz, but it actually shows there. Look what's happening to Ghostwire Tokyo. Is not selling pretty well, and I thought that they were going to support, you know, something like that. So imagine, I don't know about Starfield, but if they don't support Deathloop or Ghostwire Tokyo, imagine for Starfield. So I don't know.
Well, if Burger King starts selling the Big Mac, for example, right? The thing is, if you go into McDonald's to get your Big Mac, it's not just the fact that you're buying your Big Mac, but you're going to probably get your Coke, and you're going to get something else to go with it. So there's a reason why restaurants always have sort of, we can all buy fries anywhere. We can all buy a burger at just about anywhere. But there's a reason they have specific items that are very exclusive to their restaurants, because they want you to go in. And even if you don't like a certain thing, again, you might not like Starfield, but the fact that Starfield is there, it's going to get people into Game Pass, and those people into Game Pass are going to go over, and guess what? They're going to buy a different game, or they're going to try something else. This is why the indie guys, the indies that are loving Game Pass, are loving it for that reason, because their game is probably not the reason you sub the Game Pass, but the fact that you're there because you can play Halo Infinite, you're going, oh, this little Shredders game, oh, this other game, I'm going to play that. And trust me, Tunic's going to get a lot more people playing Tunic because it's on Game Pass than it would if it just sat in the storefront and probably got next to no marketing. That's the whole point, right? Is that the big games market the little games without intentionally marketing it for them, right? So personally, yeah, I would keep this game off of your main competitor. I'm not saying, you know, in 3 years, do what's Square Enix wants to be doing. Oh, the game is going to come to Xbox, but it takes you 4 years later. You know, maybe they get it in 3 years. And by that time, Microsoft will have gotten their subscriptions. They can make more money again, like a double dip. That's what I'm saying. That's how you should do it. If you're Microsoft, is not necessarily, yes, we're not saying it'll never come to the competitor, but when it does finally come, we've already got our money. We've got what we wanted. And now you guys can play it as well, you know? So, and I always say, you know what, in this business, if you got to play dirty sometimes, Microsoft doesn't like to do it, but you got to do it. If you're trying to make money, you got to do it. right? Because Sony doesn't mind doing it. Sony doesn't mind constantly throwing money at deals to keep them what? Not 6 months exclusive, a year, 2 years exclusivity on games, right? They don't seem to blink a freaking eye. It's like every time you turn around now, Sony's got an exclusive for this long. Is that right? So if you're going to tell me that it's not right to keep it not to the one system, but it's okay for Sony to toss money at every third-party developer, to, especially for Japanese RPGs, which sometimes are hurting on the competitor, but that's okay. Like, where's Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Xbox? That was supposed to go. They even unveiled it on their freaking show, and it's still not on Xbox. Like, at this point, does anybody even give a shit? Because after, like I said, exclusivity after a year tops, nobody's playing those games. They're moved on. They're on to something else, right? So, yeah.
Usually after 3 months, everybody's moved on.
That's what I'm saying. Even 3 months. Do you need 1 year exclusivity? But we saw how Microsoft, when they did that with Tomb Raider, they got raked over the coals. They had reporters who wouldn't shut up on the show when they said it's exclusive to Xbox. What was their first questions, guys? Oh, is it going to come to PlayStation? And how long is it going to be? And they wouldn't shut up until the Crystal Dynamics guys get, yes, it's going to come to PlayStation. You know what I mean? But when Sony does it, oh, that's great. They got another exclusive. That's amazing. Oh, it drives me nuts how it's always Xbox is always the bad guy, no matter what they do. It drives me nuts. I can get on a whole new tangent. Right? When they're trying to do what's right for their business model, And then what do people say the last 3 or 4 years? Microsoft's got no exclusives. They got no this. They got no that. There's always got nothing. But then when they go and do it, oh, now you're taking shit away. That's the whole reason people are so upset over the Activision
organic
thing. Yeah, because they're so goddamn scared that Call of Duty might disappear from their ecosystem, and they know that Call of Duty is legitimately the biggest selling game on the PlayStation platform. Right? Call of Duty sells more PlayStations than friggin' God of War and all your exclusives combined. It might do it for Xbox too, but that's why they're scared shitless, because, sorry, my language is getting out there, because that's what they do, right? So, yeah. So there you go. But anyway, yeah, that's my rant for today. Paul's over there like mesmerized.
No, there's somebody out my window, but there shouldn't be anybody out my window. So I'm wondering what I see moving out there. So
I wanted us to end that combo on a high note, and I think you did it.
There we go.
Yeah.
No, I get worked up with that stuff because it's always, like I said, I'm just so tired of the double narrative and the goalposts constantly moving, that every time Microsoft erases a narrative from the YouTubers' comments and all of this crap, someone got to go and find another reason why Microsoft will forever be the forbidden bad guy, the industry, they should disappear. When they're friggin' out, they're leading more innovation than 4 or 5 other companies combined. It's insane. I'll preach about how shitty Kinect was. But guess what? Everybody's copied Kinect. Where do you think Alexa and Siri and PlayStation's doing it now with their controllers and the microphones? But Kinect was terrible. It's bad for the business. It's going to ruin things. And everybody's copied them. But Microsoft was the bad guy because what? They were ahead of the game. Apple's copied Microsoft more times than you can freaking,
Ooh, don't go there.
Oh my God. Right? But Microsoft is always the bad guy for being the leader, and it drives me absolutely bonkers. Right? But oh well. Anyway, that's the comment.
No, they got rid of Kinect because they got tired of watching me in my underwear. They said, we got to stop this crap.
Got tired of hearing Paul. Where's the biggest boobs on the internet? Search. Anyway, guys, sorry I'm getting off on the tangent, but look, Microsoft is, and it's the reason I did Good Morning Xbox, because Microsoft is my favorite publisher. Xbox is my favorite platform. It has been since the Xbox One, pretty much. And we all get very passionate, and sometimes, I do, because I've been so tired. It's almost part of the reason too that I want to step away, because some of the stuff gets me so just, you just want to reach out and choke somebody because of the stupidity that's out there. But unfortunately, I'm not close enough to do that. But hey, show up at my house with some of your stupidity. I will gladly choke you till your eyeballs popped out. But yeah. Anyway, I do digress. Yeah, I don't need another Boogie situation, right? Guy that showed up at Boogie's doorstep. Poor Boogie went to court over that. Poor guy. Seriously, guy flew like a couple. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Some dude like literally flew like states away to go to his house. Some guy that was harassing the guy, and then I guess he came out or something with a gun or something like that. And I think he shot a warning shot and got all sort of something along that lines.
That was him. Yep.
Yeah. So.
That was him.
Hey man, you'd be freaked out too if a guy was threatening you online and he actually shows up at your house. He even bought a flight to go show up at your house. Okay, it's like, damn. Yeah, so there you go. Why can't some sexy girl be obsessed with me and show up at my house? Again, the wife wouldn't like that, but that's okay. I have an obsession with Newf Nukem. That doesn't happen. But anyway, off topic here. Let's close the show. Let's let everybody get out of here. Let's start with Cerebral Paul. Paul, let people know what's happening for you this week.
Let's see. So, of course, Twitter, Cerebral Paul 1, best way to follow me for all the different shows I do, because almost none of them are on my channels on YouTube, which are both Cerebral Paul, and on Twitch, Cerebral Paul. Also, I do have my show on Mondays on the Xbox Ambassadors Twitch channel called Gaming Differently. This week I will be going to Weird West, and you'll get to hear me complain about that. So that'll be fun. Let's see. And then Tuesdays I have Retro Renegades. Wednesdays I have Midweek Gaming with Stubbs. Thursdays I have 4GQ TV. Friday and Saturday, if I show up and if they're playing a game I want to play, I do hop into the community game nights. And of course, Sundays for the next 3 weeks, you will find me here on Good Morning Xbox.
Awesome. Mr. Shaddai. What's happening with you, man? You got some parole coming up here soon? And guys, we just joked. Shaddai is not in the prison, but
no, I know. Everybody was like, "Are you in prison?" No. I'm just in the basement. That's all. It looks like a prison in here.
How weird would that be, though? You actually got a panel.
Yeah. What he's not telling you is the lock for the basement door is on the other side of the door.
You don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. I think episodes ago, like you see the padlock. I think Newf saw it on the doorknob. You're like, what is that padlock? I remember that. But no, people can find me at Eternal Shaddai on Twitter, also on my Xbox One console. I'll be streaming. Well, I don't know what's going on lately, but games that releases and you feel like streaming it straight from the console, it's actually preventing you from streaming. I don't know why is that happening, but I couldn't stream Tiny Tina's Adventure because actually they're preventing from streaming that. But other than that, I'm actually free for any podcast or anything like that, but I'm free this whole week. And other than that, I'll see you until next weekend.
Awesome. Coolcat Terri, let people know where they can find you. Again, guys, all the descriptions down below in the chat.
All right, you guys can. I'm pretty much everywhere. Just go ahead and search my name, either as you see it or with an underscore, splitting Coolcat Terri up, and you'll find me. I have Twitter, Instagram. I'm on Twitch Monday through Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern to about 10 p.m. So you can go check me out there. I play a wide range of stuff. It's usually pretty chill. I have my moments when it gets ragey and crazy, but it's usually pretty chill. Go ahead and check that out. My Twitter is usually filled with indie game news and highlights, so you can check that out if you want to see things that you don't normally get to see on your feed. And then Instagram is my real life stuff. And then I also have my own podcast called Just a Glimpse, part of Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcast, Amazon, all that. Or you can go to my YouTube and check out stuff. I haven't made any new episodes in a while because my life has just been too crazy. But hopefully I can get back into the habit soon. Yeah, you all have a good one.
Indeed. All right. Last but not least, guys, you know where to find me. Yes, it's Newf Nukem, pretty much everywhere. Always in the gutter. And when I'm not hanging out with this amazing panel here on Good Morning Xbox, you can find me on Tuesday nights with the incredible Titan Drago. That coming up this Tuesday. And as I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, Titan Drago will not be here this week. I do have a few people coming in to guest, including Mr. Dreadpool, who's in the chat right now, and I do believe Wilmy Hood, sorry. So that should be a lot of fun with those guys on. Maybe I'll have some more people as well. but we'll see how the week progresses. Otherwise, we'll be back here next Sunday. And again, just reminded people, this will be my last month of hosting shows for at least an extended period of time. I have no time frame on that. We'll see how things go, how life goes, and all that stuff. So I'm hoping that we get some good turnouts down the stretch here, because I love to see everybody, especially live. I know a lot of people catch the show on the replays, but I love the live chats because I love the interaction. As we've proven throughout the show, I can literally, shout you guys out and answer some of your questions or read out some great comments. There's so much knowledge in the chat. It's amazing people, especially guys like Doggy Dog 420, Timothy Dixon and like all you guys, John 907, Casket Repair, Stubbs, good to see you, brother. Good to have you here. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? But you guys are amazing. So, but anyway, it's been a lot of fun. This episode was great. Almost 3 hours long, our longest in a while. Yes, Paul was right. The first topic somehow took us a lot longer to get through than I thought it would. But that's the makings of a great show.
You actually nailed it.
Yeah, you did. You said about an hour and a half. But anyway, let's get out of here. Shout out to Scrub Nerds, and again, shout out to Axel1324. Couldn't make it this week, but hopefully he's back in fine form for next Sunday. So Axel, stop drinking. And we'll see you back here next week. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy it. Go play some games, and we'll see you soon.
Have a great day.
And by the way, GamersUnitedKill.com. Check it out. Lots of good
Yep. By the way, yeah.